Hello everyone, welcome to round 2 of Delhi International Chess Open. I'm Grandmaster Priyadharshan Kannappan, and today with me is national instructor Vivek Mohanraj, who will be joining me in the stream and will be sharing his thoughts and comments during the game. Will also be helping me with the feed of moves time to time. And the game start. Welcome Vivek.
Yeah, hi.
And the game started close to 45 minutes ago. We had some technical issues, so the stream uh, had to be started a bit late. Sorry for the delay. And we have a lot of games somewhere around move 10, 12. First of all, yesterday there were quite a few upsets which we covered, and I'm sure there's some new players on the top boards now, some strong players because of the upsets, and the average rating of opposition for the strong players today is around somewhere around 2200. You know, first board's at 2621. Toru Kamanato is playing Kurban Boewa. I guess I got the name right. And she's a 2200 rated player. So let's look at that game. And from there on, we can look at there's 30 games, by the way. So we have a lot of action to cover today. And I'm pretty sure we have enough time to look at all that. So it's a e4. So Amanado started with e4, e5, and we are looking at a Petrov. Yeah. So Petrov is very solid opening choice by Black, especially that Black is playing someone who's like 400 points higher rated. I think it's a very good opening choice by Black in my opinion. And White goes for the most principled main line. Knight c3 is earlier there used to be everyone who used to play knight takes e4, d4, d5, bishop d3 and so on. But now knight c3 has become the main line, and after knight takes c3, dc3, bishop e7, the whole idea is that White is trying to rapidly develop his pieces and try to attack. Most likely there'd be a long opposite side castling. White would castle on the long side, Black would castle on the short side, and then White tries to generate an attack on the king.
Because
And I
of the
think
absence of a minor piece in front of the black king.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And sometimes Black would try to put knight d7, knight f6, and try to save this. I mean, give additional protection,
Yeah.
bring knight d7. But here Black decided to go knight c6, so queen d2, short castle, long castle, knight e5. I'm pretty sure we are still in mainstream theory. A lot of games are played in these positions, and as I said, White's immediately going for the pawn push, trying to break open on the king side. I mean, you can expect h5, h6 coming up very soon. And Black played c6, so Black is also generating counterplay on the queen side. Queen a5, bishop e6 up on the line. King b1, queen a5, and bishop g5 was played. So in this position, if Black is trying to provoke White is trying to provoke f6 in this position. So once f6 has come, then potentially there's knight takes e5, and then bishops, because if f e5, then bishop on e7 is hanging. So Black would be forced to either play fg5 or play d takes e5. But d takes e5, this would allow White to give this critical intermediate check. Yeah, check. And then White's bishop can drop back. And so now White's position, White can go queen e2 if rook d8.
Yeah. King seems like stuck in the
Yeah,
corner.
and it's a big problem where this bishop will go, because let's say if something like rook d8, queen e2, bishop f5, White has g4. If bishop e4, f3 is there. But okay, that's bishop d5 here. And this would be a...
Bishop drop back to d3 and try to.
No, if bishop drops back,
Oh,
the
okay.
pawn
Sorry,
is
sorry,
hanging on
sorry,
a2.
sorry.
It's fine. Yeah, so here, I think most probably White may go h5, just try to push, because this bishop is supported by e2. This is one, and I think the more complex line is f takes g5, but White has knight c4, and then either this pawn or this pawn should fall for Black.
Okay.
So this is what I expect to happen in this. That's why I don't think Black played f6. Is Black still thinking that? But yeah, Black is still figuring out what to do. Uh, Bishop takes g5 would be a very bad move for Black. Just h g5,
Yeah.
and then this rook comes into the game, straight up into the game without not even moving anywhere. And knight f3, g f3. Let's say bishop f5 is still kind of possible to win, but bishop d3, trying to remove the defender, and maybe put rook h4, rook dh1, and then a lot of attack. And I would be surprised if Black survives this attack, really. Okay, so let's look at the next game. So far up to what I've seen from the first board, I would certainly say White's position looks way more pleasant. Black has... Actually, I think I missed one move that I should cover before we go further. Bishop e6 is a very interesting move that black has. Just ignoring the e7 bishop hanging, but creating his own counter attack on the a2, and bishop e7 would lead to a checkmate into queen a2,
Yeah.
king c. So here, white has to, I think, I mean, white has 2 to 3 options, a3, b3 or c4. But I wouldn't go c4 because this endgame is not what white is really looking for in this game. And being a higher rated player, white would try to keep the game, I think, more aggressive and try to make it more complex, in my opinion, than play a3 or b3. Namanato is also, in my opinion, a very aggressive player. So I wouldn't expect him to go c4 in this position. I expect a3 or b3. b3 is very risky because these two squares are big weaknesses. Comparatively, a3 is way more safer. And but then I have to see. Oh, knight c4 is not possible because you just take on c4. And now if bishop g5, because if bishop c4, this bishop is hanging, so black has to first take on. And now g5. Oh yeah, this would be game over. Just rook h4 and rook dh1 most likely. Yes, so this is one way. And okay, let's see what black will do. We'll come back to this game. Let's go on to the next game. Alexander Petke, grandmaster from Russia, is having the black pieces against Vikramjit Singh, who's 2200. And this is a game with d4, e6, c4, b6. So black is going for a very black's not fighting for the center. Black is happy to give up the center. If white wanted, white could grab the center with going e4, bishop b7, knight c3. And there is like a lot of complex variations here with knight c3, bishop b4, bishop d3, f5, he takes f5, bishop g2, queen h5, and so on. There's like a lot of theory here, and I think white is better in the end of this all complication. Even though white loses this rook, it's theoretical position. In the end of the line, white is slightly better, or white is winning one or the other. I've never played this with either color, but I know that this line exists. So for e4, bishop, white did not go e4. White decided to play more knight f. White I think was most probably looking forward for some sort of an Nimzo Indian, Queen's Indian in this game. So when black gave an opportunity to white to play a different pawn structure, maybe white thought maybe my opponent has come prepared, or either white was like, okay, I'm not going to what I don't know. I would just play what I know well. Maybe that's why white just decided to stick with knight f3, bishop b7, g3. An interesting way I see that black is not developing this knight, which means black I think has an idea to go f5. In the game, black went knight e7. So let's see that. Bishop b4, bishop d2, bishop takes f3.
Is that usual, giving that bishop in this kind of positions?
It's not a usual way to play these positions, but this is one strategy. This is similar to the game that, if audience remember, yesterday we were looking at a game. I think it was Harsha Bharatakoti versus Ilam Paridhi, if I'm not mistaken, where it was like black. It was a Trompowsky, d4, knight f6, bishop g5, g6, and white took bishop takes f6. So it's a reverse strategy here. So what black would most likely try to do is black would try to play c6, d5, erect some sort of a pawn barrier, trying to blunt this bishop's view on this diagonal h1, a8, and let's see if that's what really black should do. Interesting that black went knight e7 instead of knight f6. Knight f6 is an unusual square.
What difference does it make? Like knight f6 looks like a more natural square.
One difference that it could make is that, let's say after d5, d takes c4, you can go knight f5 and knight c6.
Okay.
And add a lot of pressure here. When the knight is on f6, you may not be able to add that much pressure. But as I said, this is I don't know if this is exactly what he has in mind, because another way to play is d5, c6. So knight c3, we are on move 8, and knight c3, this is the live position. And white has 1 hour 26 minutes, black has 1 hour 25 minutes. So
I have a quick question for you. Like, you consider knight e7 instead of knight f6. Maybe it's for the fact there's a pawn on f3, so knight doesn't have the control of e4 square, so maybe knight e7. Do you think in this kind of way? Like,
yeah, could be very much that. But the point is, when they go knight f6, there's also in most lines there's a knight on c3. Yeah, but there's a bishop on b7. The natural idea in these Nimzo Indian paintings is to put a bishop on b7, knight on f6, and jump knight e4. Now that the bishop doesn't exist anymore, that black has captured on f3, that could be also another reason. He thought, why should I put my knight there? Uh, but I think it's more a strategic reason. I get a feeling he's going to go after his target as a d4 pawn in this game, and not any other thing. So after knight c3, black is still thinking, if I'm not mistaken. So we can come back to this game. It's still a fairly, we are still only in move 8 and a lot of play left on this game. So we're still a very, very long way from getting any clear evaluation. Okay, so game 3, Levan Pansalaya, Srija Sheshadri. It's a Catalan by what I see the initial position. And Levan yesterday, he played I think a modern Benoni and won the game pretty fast. And I remember saying that he's like an expert in Benoni with black side. And white side, I think he always goes to this knight f3, c4, g3 kind of setups. Catalan, yeah, some sort of one where there is not that much of how to say concrete theory, but more playing on experience and feel. And this is a very good strategy, in my opinion, when a strong player is playing someone young, because the experience counts. Because most of these positions, when you put it on a computer evaluation, it would say somewhere around 0.00, 0.02, 0.03. So people think it's equality, it's a draw kind of position, but these are positions where you need to know how to handle the pawn structure. Experience trumps computer evaluation, these type of positions. So bishop g2, e6, castle, bishop e7, c4, castle, d4. So we got a proper Catalan, dc4, knight e5. So yeah, here the most popular move is queen c2, then there's a6, queen c4, and yeah, a lot of theory. Knight e5 off late has been getting popular, and knight c6 is the best move for this. And there's two ways to play. Bishop takes e6 is one way. There is a game, if I'm not mistaken, Aronian Huyefan or Huyefan Aronian the other way, from 2-3 years ago, Tata Steel. Something, I think.
How is continuous queen
So
e6,
that game is like,
yeah,
queen d7 or queen e8, and then I think they take, and then queen a4, and then black, c5, queen, yeah. So there's a critical difference. If queen a4, c5 is a big mistake. I made this mistake once on my own game, and my opponent did not spot it. The idea is that it looks similar to queen c2, which is also going after this pawn. But if you go, actually I should flip the board from white side because Levan is playing white pieces here. So queen c2. Now c5, queen c4 is that game which I'm talking about. And black goes bishop b7, e5, and tries to generate a lot of counterplay. Black has actually enough counterplay. And black also goes sometimes rook b8 and pile up pressure on the b2. That's one way. And then sometimes rook b8, rook b4, and the rook gets activated. That's another way. But the difference I was talking about is queen a4, c5, queen a3, and white just wins this pawn. It's like straight up. I was like, I didn't realize that there was no difference, and someone played this against me, and I thought, okay, I know the theory, so I'll just queen if I like c5, just transpose it. The player did take queen c4, so I got back into what I knew. But after the game, I went back home and I checked, and I'm like, queen a3, and computer was like, white is clearly better. The point is, if you go knight d7, you can go bishop e3.
Keep adding pressure.
You just keep adding the pressure, and then you win this pawn, and good chances you win this pawn also. And
have a big majority on the queen side.
Yeah, and white is just like clearly way better. So this.
So how is black response for queen a4?
So for queen a4, I think the best way to play is, if I'm not mistaken, is e5, and try to go here.
Okay.
Go this way around. There is there's some reason why queen c2 e5 is not as good as queen a4 e5. Let me figure out why that is. Queen a4 e5. What is the difference? The queen c2 e5. Not exactly sure, but I think e5 is the main move here. And then bishop h3, queen f5, some counter attack like that. But in the game, I think white decided to take knight takes c6, b takes c6, knight a3. Okay. So white is going for this variation where white is white wants to take on c4 with a knight, and then bishop a3. So white is saying, I'm trying to play for your two bishops. I have two bishops, that's my advantage. And black has an extra pawn still, but it's triple pawn, and naturally one pawn would, one or the other pawn would fall.
I already like white's position, kind of double bishops, open position.
This is main theory. There is this game. I think it's Hikaru Nakamura versus Wesley So from Field Cup 2016 or 15, which was the first time this line became very popular. Knight A3. I think it was Nakamura or Wesley who introduced this. And then the idea is that they'll play bishop A6, rook B6. If let's say bishop takes C6, they'll go like rook B6, and then try to push the bishop away. Or you can also play bishop B7, exchange the bishop. And once the bishop is exchanged, you can play queen D5, knight E4, take control of all the light squares, and so on. So what generally white would do is white would try to go like queen A4 here. And then there's like, try to take, if A7, this pawn weakness and so on. Black will go like rook B6. So trying to defend this. And the main line is where black will, in the end of this line, which is like a 25-30 move theoretical line, black will sacrifice both the exchanges. I mean, he'll give up this rook and this rook. In return, he'll get both the bishops. But black will have two pawns. Basically, a bishop and knight and two pawns against two rooks. But black is perfectly fine. That's the theory of this line. And I don't know if we'll see that in this game, but we'll wait and watch. There is still Lavan is thinking, and this clock is also 127, 126. I get a feeling that the clock timer isn't working properly because it's close to 1 hour and they cannot be having spent just 3 minutes on their clock, both sides. At least both sides should have spent 15, 20 minutes.
Played in Vaibhav Suri's game.
Vaibhav Suri, yeah, okay, we'll go to that. Oh, this is, they're still in theory though. This is Caro-Kann's mainline theory in this game. E4, C6. So we see a Caro-Kann, and Vaibhav Suri is playing black pieces against Saurabh Anand, who's 22-10. And Vaibhav is leading the Indian contingent in this tournament. He's the highest rated Indian player. So, and he's also a local player, so a lot of local support for him that he wins this Asia's biggest prize fund, Delhi Open. So we'll see how he's on good track. He's on 1 out of 1, so but still a long way to go. D4, D5, knight D2, classical Caro-Kann basically. Bishop B5, bishop. And these classical Caro-Kanns are very theoretical. Generally, the theory these days ends around mode 24, and classical Caro-Kann in any variation. Yeah, knight F3. Earlier, I think the main move used to be like knight D7, stopping knight E5, but there's a new way to play these positions with E6, allowing knight E5. Bishop H7, bishop takes D3, queen D3, knight D7, and F4. So this was the reason why black delayed knight F6. So over here, there is some lines where black can go knight F6 immediately, which is also perfectly playable. But the reason is black wants to first play bishop E7 and try to attack this pawn on H4. It's a nuance. So to understand Caro-Kann, main line of Caro-Kann with black pieces, it takes a lot of detailed study, because even one move difference leads you to another main line, which is completely different with a lot of theory. So, and there's a lot of transpositions also. So after bishop E7, if you play knight F6, it may go back to another different main line that you completely have no idea about. So here, bishop D2. To the audience, if bishop H4, white can just long castle. White doesn't really worry about the pawn, because knight H5 is a big threat coming up, and this king is going to be very weak. And so this is, and also F5 and so on.
Black is lagging too much in development, I guess.
Yeah, black is way behind in development. And this bishop on H4 is a problem. If bishop G3, he'll take queen G3, and then again G7 is the problem. And you can't also develop knight F6 or knight E7 here. So if you go bishop E7, white can even just play F5, I think. And just like, just break open the position, and it's going to be very deadly, because something like F5, F5, just even queen F5. This rook will have a lot of knight E5, something like D5. Very scary. This is not worth the one pawn that black went on pawn hunt. Yeah, and then openings, don't try to go for, especially if not a central pawn, don't try to go for pawns like H4, A4 if you're way behind in development.
I think actually castle direct F5 is not possible because of knight E5, I think.
Where? Sorry?
Here
F5 you mean?
No, castle, you told bishop E7, castle.
Here, this line?
F5, yeah.
Yeah, what?
If F5, what if knight E5 takes exchange queens, and that is also in favor of white?
Oh, actually, sorry, my bad. Yeah, F5, knight E5, white, black has this way to exchange. Black is fine here.
Yeah, your general idea is to get that
so for example, in this position, then let's start with knight H5.
Yeah.
And g6, actually you can even play knight takes g6. So maybe let's say g6, then knight g6 is very strong. You have g6, queen d6, king f8, knight queen g7 check, yeah. So but for let's say knight h5, knight takes e5 is played first. So now I'm thinking if knight g7 works, it may work very well, and I just sacrifice a piece, let's say. This is a position.
Still black looks.
The problem is this knight is still cannot come out yet. Maybe you can play something like bishop g5, trying to get knight e7 to go knight f5. But then let's say I play something like queen g6, exactly. Queen g6 and add pressure. And black has to be very careful.
I don't think so. Black wants to go to this kind of.
Yeah, I wouldn't be. And there's also way different ways for white to keep the initiative. Now you don't have to sack a piece. So in the game they took knight e5 first. Oh, and also another thing, I forgot to say. After bishop h4, there's knight takes d7. You are forced to play king d7 because if you take queen d7, you lose the bishop. So bishop g3, queen g3, and then queen d7, you lose the rook. Sorry. Yeah, this is another way. But I think here they can play king d7. There's some theory with this, I believe, something like this. And right exchange. Yeah, but then this is a weak pawn over here, in my opinion. So this is a lot of conflict. That's why black first took on knight takes e5, and now he took bishop h4, because now this is bishop g3, queen g3, knight e7, queen g7, rook g8, queen h7, rook takes g2. So there's still another 5 to 6 moves of theory in this line, and the idea of this is that black is way happy. Black will give up both these pawns. Black will put the queen on d5, knight on f5, and long castle. So what the idea of black is that even though I'm a pawn down, the queens will be swapped. Generally, it will be two rooks versus double rooks and bishop. But white won't be able to use that extra pawn to do anything. This d5 and f5 becomes very strong outpost.
And you think in that position knight is better than the bishop because the pawns are in the same color of the bishop in the central squares, and the play is on one side of the board. Do you think knight will be better than the white's bishop?
Certainly the knight is better than the bishop to some extent. That's why he's deriving the compensation. And the another big thing is that the outpost for the knights. Because white cannot go c4 and control this. Once c4, then this pawn becomes too weak, and black will pick up this pawn. Just will put the knight on f5 and pick up the pawn. So let's see. I mean, this game is already getting some drawish tendencies, to say. I think Weber is hoping that he will outplay the opponent later on, but we'll see how this game goes. I wouldn't be surprised if the game ends in a draw, but it's still a long way to go. We are still just 1 hour into the game, so we can go to the next game, which is who's playing the next game? Yeah, Vivek Kulkarni. Is there any other interesting game? We can come to this game. Let's see if some other exciting action, some interesting opening choice by any player so far. And actually, let's look at Gukesh versus Nikhil Magilnan. Both are very young players, big talents. And Gukesh is I don't know if he was chasing to be the world's youngest. Yeah, I think he was chasing to be the world's youngest GM, but he could not get the third norm in time. But he's still very close. He'll be GM anytime soon, and it's very great for Indian chess that there's so many 12-year-old, 13-year-old people who are on or GMs already, or just going to be a GM in next few months time, which is a great sign of Indian chess going greater heights. So in this game, white is Nikhil Magilnan, and e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6. So we are seeing a Shashnikov. No, not white decided. Okay, I'll play an Alapin. c3, knight f6, e5, knight d5, d4, c. Okay, so white went for bishop c4. That is why we got this interesting structure. So here black can go knight b6 also if he wants. There's a lot of lines with d5, d6, and also on. And there is some lines like this which don't work.
Yeah, it's just that was the first thought came to my mind.
There is king g8, and if queen f3, there's queen e8 simply, and if queen b3, there's e6. You see this line tried a lot in blitz games, rapid games, and people just end up a piece down. And if they go queen h5, you have g6. So, and then once the queens go back, and the square is controlled, and there's no queen d5 check coming up, and extra piece will be more than enough. I mean, white doesn't have any compensation literally for the piece here, so this sacrifice would not be the right thing to do. So, but black decided to go e6. This is another way to handle this position. Generally, the main line is c takes d4, and black can go bishop b4 check. This is another way to play, but here he just took bishop d5. So this is castle is a very interesting move. He's not taking the pawn with c takes d4. I think because here black will generally go d6, and already black has equalized, and generally in these type of positions that it's double bishops, and I feel more like if I get this position with black, I'd be very happy when I'm playing someone 200 points lower rated than me. The reason is that there's already an imbalance in the position, double bishop versus bishop and knight one, and it's a fairly open position. It's not closed or anything, so bishops have a lot of potential to play in the game, and that means it's not going to be a draw, like a straight up draw. There's a lot of imbalances, means there's a lot of chances to play a fighting game. So from that perspective, we're very happy that if I get this kind of position as black, and I'm pretty sure Gukesh feels the same too right now. So when white castled, white is saying that if you play d takes c3, I'll take with a knight, and I'll play knight d5, and then I have a pawn on e5. Sorry, then this pawn is controlling two critical squares in the black's position, d6 and f6. So I don't expect black to play d takes e3. Maybe he'll play d6 here immediately. But the thing he has to calculate is e takes d6, bishop d6, rook e1. If this leads to something like bishop e6, let's say, and knight d4 or knight g5, I think I can just short castle. And if knight takes e6, I can play f e6. Because this can lead to lines like bishop takes h2, this variations, and take on f2. And I mean, worst case I have a draw, but obviously I think I can even go rook a e8 and remove this rook.
Okay, and
so
white's queen check pieces.
Rook e1 is threat. Yeah. So the point is rook e8. Let's say rook e8. There's no way to stop rook e1 check other than king f1 or bishop d2. But if you're going bishop d2, there must be a way I must be winning this position. There is maybe some even I can play knight e5 maybe even. Bring the knight in. And
all white's pieces are still not developed.
Yeah, this is a huge risk, and I think 2 pawns and so much counterplay compensation. Black is certainly doing great in this variation. So Gukesh is still thinking, I believe. Castle. Yeah, I don't think in my game I don't see any new moves. So we are still fairly in opening stages of this game. And then we have let's see if there's any other interesting game. I think there's 1 or 2 games that may be transmission errors. For example, there's a game between Nighyun Van Hooy versus Atul Dahale, which there's no move made on the board, so potentially a transmission error. The same goes with Tarun versus Andre Deviatkin. They have played only 2 moves. So let's see some game where this. Let's look at this game. Masood Mozaddehpour, the grandmaster from Iran. He's playing Mahindrakar Indrajit, and this is, I believe, a Alakane defense game. Yeah, it's an Alakane defense. Yeah, so e4, knight f6. The higher rated players having the white pieces in this game. d4, d6, knight f3. So white is going for more of a positional edge. c4 is another way to handle this, knight b6. Even though this is also basically saying I have extra space, and I mean, if they want a completely dynamic game, they go for this 4 pawns thing with f4 and so on. But he goes for knight f3, d5, knight e5, c6, bishop e2, just developing quite more. It makes sense not to put the bishop on d3 because then this pawn could be weak. So white just decides to put bishop e2 and keep that pawn safe. Also, bishop d3 may lead to potentially unwanted attack on it by knight b4 at some point in the later, not immediately, but some point later on. Bishop e2 is very safe. And g6, castle, bishop g7, c4, knight c7, bishop e3. A great position for white. Has got the center, has a knight on e5. I don't know how black can kick the knight. The only way is to exchange, possibly exchange knight with knight d7. This knight on c7 isn't doing much as of now. The idea for black is basically play knight d7, knight d7, bishop d7 or queen d7 and play knight e6 and put pressure on this pawn. So there will be a three-way pressure by the queen, the knight on the bishop. In the meantime, white will go knight c3, queen d2, rook f d1, rook a c1, and white will then try to go d5 and get more space. And also there's another thing with queen d2, bishop h6 that will also be there. Yes, that is true. And I really like white's position so far. I think that right now the game that is bishop e3. This is the live position on that game. After white played bishop e3 and black is thinking, and clock timing in this game is let me see, there's no clock timing on this, so maybe this is one of the boards where they're not using DGT but the other ways for the live feed, I believe. That's why the clock timings aren't getting reflected on. Okay, so let's see who else is playing. Let's look at Deepen Chakravarti, Spencer Mazzango. A very interesting double fianchetto by Deepen. And Deepen is also one of very strong grandmasters from India, 2550 plus rating, and one of the hopefuls to win this title from the Indian contingent. And let's see how this game has started. Knight f3, b6. Now Deepen is known for his very creative, and he plays a lot on. He gets inspired by something and then he goes and plays on that on board. So I don't know if b6 was preparation or inspiration, that only Deepen can explain, but certainly not a normal opening choice for knight f3. White could, if white wanted, white could have played e4 and played, tried to say, okay, I got the center, what are you doing on the flanks by fianchettoing? But white decided to not do that. White just decided to stick to what he knows, g3 and bishop b7, bishop g2, g. So double fianchetto, here we see that, c4, c5, knight c3, knight. And d6, okay, so it seems to be an interesting move, but it doesn't do much immediately. I think black wants to put the queen on d7 at some point. And most likely the setup that I expect in this game is e6, knight e7, queen d7 and short castle. And the setup I expect white to play is rook b1, b4, e3 and d4. Or e3, d4 and then b3, something like that. So the whole action will revolve around these three pawns. This pawn, and white will have these two pawns, and the center, basically the fight will be on these squares. That's what I expect this to be, but there are others. Actually, there's a bunch of moves that was played in this game, so we can get ourselves updated on the a3, d6. So as I expected, b4, but b4 came immediately. So the point is that if you take and try to take the pawn away, the queen a4 check here, and then knight moves like knight d4. If bishop d4, bishop takes c6, bishop c6, queen c6, and then black has to go king f8, it's e3 even, maybe something like this, or bishop b2, and this is one way. Or also instead of knight d4, I think white may be able to play, let's see, it should be able to play even something more aggressive, even d4, which looks very tempting to me. This is not something I would do. Once again, I wouldn't go for a pawn on the flank in the opening when I'm not developed. It is a very risky way. I mean, and I don't think Deepen took the pawn. Yeah, Deepen decided not to take the pawn, and as I expected, he played e6. And move 8, he played e6, and then bishop b2, knight g7. So the setup that I mentioned is coming on the board. e2, knight g7, e3, so d4 is coming up soon. Okay, so white wants to put queen b3, rook f d1 and go d4. This is the other way to develop and fight for the same squares that I was mentioning. So e3, castles, and he went for white decided to release the tension with bc5. I'm not too, how to put it, like very happy with this move by white, Spencer, I believe, Spencer, because he should have maintained the tension for a few more moves. Releasing tension, this one was too early in my opinion here, because after queen b3, rook f d1, rook a c1, you can see what black's planning to do, and based on that you can release this tension with bc5 and so on. But white released the tension way early with bc5, and that's a big question, which pawn to take, b or d. And as a higher rated player, Deepen made the very right choice to take with the d. So now the pawn structure is not symmetrical, And asymmetry leads to interesting position, and that can lead to a result. And when there's a huge rating advantage, stronger players will always try to get an asymmetrical position. And if it was black to play, I think the first move that would come to my mind is just go queen d3 and stop, this pawn, keep this pawn backward, d2. If I can keep that pawn as much as possible backward, then white cannot fight for the center, but black will basically play on all the central squares. Knight f5 can be an idea, knight e5 is coming, knight a5 is coming. All the light squares already are a bit weak for white in my opinion, because the bishop is on g2, so this square, this square and all can potentially be weak at some point soon for white. So dc5, queen e2. So white immediately goes queen e2 to fix, take control of the first d3 square. And Deepen played 8-6. Okay, so I think I know what Deepen is trying to do. Deepen wants to go g5 at some point and go knight g6, and then go g4 and h5. So Deepen, this would be my guess. There could come sometime, because if not 8-6 is not a move. Another idea, but it's not really an idea for white here. Sometimes black goes 8-6 to stop white from going knight g5, knight g4. But here knight g5, knight g4 doesn't achieve much, because then you can just go f5 and attack the knight, and the knight has no good squares. So 8-6 was not a prophylactic move aiming to stop knight g5 or anything. I think more of he wants to go g5 himself at some point soon. So 8-6, d3, queen d7. So next 2-3 moves would be just bringing the rook towards the center of the board. Both sides would just bring the rook to the center of the board. And then the action would start most. Okay, so one line that black may have to be careful is if white goes knight e4, black should go e5. Because if you exchange the bishops, then this long diagonal, dark squares are all big holes. That knight will land on f6 and it's game over. So you'll just go e5 immediately. And this may be an idea that white may actually play. White may go knight e4, e5 and go back knight c3, saying I have got a weakness on here. Yeah. This is one idea that white actually has, that he can, and then he'll go e4 and try to put the knight on d4. This is one way white can play this position, but not sure if that's how white is aiming to play this. And white has 1 hour and 3 minutes on the clock, black has 1 hour 13 minutes, and we are on move 13 this board, and still a lot of players left on this game, so we'll definitely come back to this game at some point in later time. And let's see if there's any let's look at which game. Let's look at Abhijit Gupta, Sakshi Chitlange, and Abhijit Gupta is actually featured in a lot of NURTR's Dream Room videos, I believe, at least quite a few. And Sakshi is a Dream Room resident in NURTR, I believe. So basically, I can say a battle of two people who are associated with NURTR, like that. And Abhijit Gupta is also, it's like, I believe he resides in Delhi, and he's like one of the favorites to win this tournament. Former world junior champion, has like a lot of big credentials, has won big tournaments and so on. And let me copy paste this game. So d4. Abhijit is playing the white pieces, so let me flip the board. d4, knight f6. So we have Queen's Indian or a Bogo Indian. Black decides to go for a Bogo Indian with bishop b4. Knight bd2. Once again we see that the strong player is not interested in going bishop d2 and exchanging the bishops, but is going for some sort of imbalance, forcing black to take. Knight bd2, b6. One way to play is a3 and get the bishops immediately, but Abhijit decides to play g3 here, bishop b7, bishop g2. This is also all theoretical lines. And there's actually some interesting ideas for white over here. If black doesn't take on d2, some ideas for white is to just go knight b1 back and go a3. This bishop doesn't have a good square. That is why black decided to take this before giving one more move or even knight b3 and a3 something. But knight b1, a3, knight c3 is more common idea, something like that. So bishop d2, queen d2, d6. So these positions are very pleasant to play for white. I've played these positions quite a bit with black myself, and I've realized that it is, black is trying very hard to equalize or to just keep the position balanced because of the double bishops. Because the moment you exchange and go to a double bishop as bishop and knight endgame in this pawn structure, white is the only one who can win. So So rook
moves
a d.
like knight e4, f5 doesn't work. It's all bad.
Let's say, I mean, first obviously black wants to develop his pieces before
okay,
puts it there.
and
I mean, he could go knight
b2.
e4 if he wanted here, but I think that would lead to this line, queen c2 or queen d2. I think queen c2, let's say, f5 and d5.
e5.
And something like, let's say, knight h4, threatening to take on f5 and take on e4. So if maybe if g6, then you lose a pawn. That's given. And if you go knight c5, I have knight takes f5 here, rook f5, bishop e4, and I win a pawn. This is one. And for our viewers, if for d5, if e takes d5, there is lines like c d5, bishop d5. You can just go rook fd1 or so on, and then go knight d4, and then try to get the knight into one of these two weak light squares. And the moment the bishop goes back, there's also some queen c4 check that's coming up also. So let's say knight d4 here. Now knight c6 is a big problem. Knight e6 is coming. This white has enough compensation for the sacrificed material basically. So maybe white decided to just black decided to just hold on. I'll play queen e7 first, and rook a d1, d8. So and d5. So here if you take, the idea is I think just go knight d4 and put the knight on f5 and queen g5, and then basically this bishop will also join the attack, and then you have three pieces attacking g7, and black would not be able to.
Combined with the queen is
Two minor pieces with the combined with the queen.
Knight on f5,
yeah, knight f5, bishop e2 on the queen. That would be an attack that's like impossible to stop. Black will get checkmated, not like this. That's why it was a wise decision by white to black to close with e5. So, but the problem is black now has to read out this bishop. This bishop does not have a life on b7. It has to come back to c8. But the question is, after it comes to c8 also, where does it go? Like, maybe it can go to f5, g4, but most likely white will end up playing e4 at some point. Then there's no f5 available. It has to go to g4. So it'll become critical if this bishop gets gets some good squares to get itself, or it'll be a bad bishop for the rest of the game.
Even the black bishop is bad, right? The bishop on b7.
We are talking about the bishop on b7.
b2. Bishop on
yeah,
b2.
bishop on b2 is bad. So what white will try is white will try to get f4 break in some point, and try to undermine this pawn so that the bishop gets into the game. And Abhijit is having the white pieces, right, in this game. Yeah, let me look at it from white's perspective. This game, flip over. And knight h4. So the idea is he wants to go knight f5. So he's basically using the drawback principle here. Black played e5. The drawback was that it lost control of this square. Immediately you go and try to take that square, occupy that square, and then black is responding to that with g6. And now the weakness is these two light squares are weak. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, dark squares. The two dark squares are weak. So he could go queen h6, but the problem here is black will just go king h8 and go knight g8, and he'll kick the queen away. So instead, white decides to go queen g5. Now the threat of knight f5 is renewed, and this queen has to find this first. King h8, and as I told you, f4. The way it's coming. I am already not happy about black's position. This position is going to crumble very soon, in my opinion. Knight g8, that's needed. I mean, if you leave the queen on the board, white will be just checkmating you next few moves. Because what white's actually, I think one of the ideas is like fe5. If let's say if it's white to play, let's say I play some random a5, fe5, de5, white can just even play bishop takes e5. If queen e5, knight e5, I take on f6. And if bishop e5, knight e5, I can take queen takes f6, and I just win a pawn. So this was what white. That's why black had to play knight g8, exchange queens. And if let's say if white tries to keep the queen on the board and go queen g4, but then there's f5, queen g3, knight f6, d5, knight e5. Now I think black is trying to hold this position. That is why it makes more sense to just exchange and take on e5, because tactic alert for audience. If d5, what white on d6? Here d takes e7. Bishop f1, you win one of, maybe you can even actually take this and just take this knight, and just take this and just checkmate somewhere, or win more material and win the game basically. That is why black spotted the tactic, and black decided to take with a knight.
Doesn't work after bishop takes same thing?
I think it still works.
d6?
I think Yeah, it still works. Yeah, it's basically game over by that logic.
You can take on the rook first though.
Oh yeah, it's mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, intermediate moves, right?
Yeah.
You spot. So maybe this game will end in next 10 minutes, or maybe it's already over.
Okay.
One or the other.
Maybe.
And it, as I said, right, like when I was about this point, I was telling about this game that knight h4, f4, f4 break comes, it's like game over. It all depends on how this bishop gets back into the game. In the end, black ended up losing because of that bishop. That d6 break came in.
For example, is there something like psychologically involved? Like, because when I looked at the position, like we think, okay, the position is closed, nothing is coming. Suddenly it opens up,
Yeah.
and you go all wrong, and the game is about over. So is
Yeah.
there something like where we get into a mindset? Okay, it's not anything happening. It's we just relax a bit, little, and relax. It's closed position. We just randomly just try to improve pieces and miss
But
tactics. Is
it
that
was not really,
happen?
that was not the case here. No, like okay, up to, yeah, okay, you can say here black may have played something more concrete than rook a d8, because generally even when you develop the rooks in these structures, this rook goes to c8 and this rook goes to d8.
Okay.
From that perspective, yeah, I mean rook a d8 was maybe the first big step in the wrong direction, I would say. So one variation that black may have tried to do was, one of the common ideas in these positions is to go bishop e4. What they try to do with this is, so they keep the bishop outside the pawn chain, and then they'll go c6 d5,
Okay.
cement the bishop here.
Okay.
So what white will try to do is, the problem for white is that he cannot move the knight without exchanging the bishops.
Yeah,
So what I'll try to do something like this most of the time. But then
Okay.
black will just take this and go like, okay, now we'll play two knights with two bishops. And this is another kind of a long battle where is the knight's better, bishop's better, and it's a close position. So generally, it's balance is maintained. So I think maybe black should have done this move, in my opinion, bishop e4. Or the other idea, maybe here knight e4 was better option to go and go f5.
Okay.
Now
Yeah.
d5, go knight c5. Because now again I think e5 still it runs into knight h4 issues with knight h4. But still I'm not that happy. I think the best move was bishop e4 here, if I'm not mistaken, and go c6 d5. Yeah, so that is this game. So maybe is the result already updated or no? I think
No,
they're
not
still
yet.
black is
Up to-
thinking, I
yeah.
believe. Okay. So let's see if any other big updates in any game. Michelle, Katrina, Regesi, or Joan, they are still in theory in a Sicilian defense, so it'll take some time and to get anything clear, like big evaluation change in that game. And I am very interested in looking at this game between Debashish Das and Soham Datar. Debashish Das, Grandmaster from Orissa, first Grandmaster from Orissa, and very strong player. I know him for a long time, and he's he's playing white pieces here, d4, d5, c4, c6. So we are seeing a Slav here, knight f3, knight f6, e3, bishop f5, knight c3. So white is just trying to go after the bishop, which is theory here. The moment you go e6, the bishop is stuck to these somewhere these four squares. So white immediately goes after the bishop, knight h4, and then critical move is provoking a weakness and then going back. So now if they take, black can go queen c7, bishop d6, and this pawn is a big problem. White has to go white goes f4, then e4 square becomes, and you can't go g3 because just bishop takes g3 or rook takes h2, something will come, and if you go h3, bishop g3 check. But the difference is if you do the same thing, if let's say you go here directly, even if let's say white does take and go something like queen b3, queen c7, white can just go g3. That is the critical difference, provoking f3 versus g3. Now you cannot, even if there was a bishop, you still cannot take on g3. Bishop takes g3. So bishop e4, f3, bishop g6, queen b3, queen c7. So now that the queen is on this diagonal, bishop d2 becomes a critical move, because at some point white wants to go rook c1 and put pressure on this queen. So white is trying to exploit the drawback at a future stage, drawback of queen. And one good thing for white is that once the queen goes to c7, he can for the time being not worried about some tactic may come and I may lose my knight.
Okay.
Because when the queen is on d8, you always have to calculate some knight e4, knight g4 every time. Even though it doesn't work, still in the back of mind you have to calculate it. It's like a blunder check kind of thing you have to do. And queen c7, bishop d2, bishop e7, g3, bishop h5. Okay, so there was an option to take the bishop for too long. I think white decided, okay, maybe one more move, but black's like, okay, no, you can't take the bishop anymore. I have my own ideas. I think at some point black wants to go g5 and kick the knight and go back bishop g6, because then the knight has to go to g2 and it's questionable how the knight will get rerouted. It has to come to knight e1 and go d3.
Do you think when you had the chance you should have taken the bishop on g6?
No, not really. I mean, because one interesting way to play here, let's say bishop e2 and g5, white has this idea. I don't know if it's great or anything, but it's just an idea that is possible very much. Because even though white is a pawn down, it's a double pawn. It doesn't matter much. And white has managed to develop everything more or less. And like long castle is coming up, f4. So white has a lot of, even rook c1. And then, some, as I said,
doesn't have good squares.
Yeah. So, but let's say g5, g4, black goes bishop g6. Now I may be forced to take, but g6 and maybe f4 here. I don't know if I mean f4 doesn't look good. I mean, it doesn't look correct to me to play f4. But maybe I'll just long castle here. I think I'll give up because you can't take on h2 right now. b7 is hanging the whole time, and after knight bd7. Then the problem would be somewhere if I can take this pawn at the end of the day. I'll just go king b1, let's say a long castle, maybe just h3, something like this, save the pawn for now. And I think I would prefer to have the white pieces here, because the position is going to open up soon. f4 is a pawn break coming up, e4 is a pawn break coming up, c d5 can happen. And the moment the position opens, these bishops will become monsters on here, both these bishops. So what happened in the game exactly? G5 was not played. Black just took d takes c4. Queen c4. So with bishop c4, I think g5 would have been played. That's why he took f3 was hanging. So black decided, white decided to take with the queen, a6. So black wants to play b5. If you go b5 directly, that's knight takes b5 tactic. So black wants to go a6, and white just want. White could have played a4 if he wanted, but I think what he had in mind, if I were to guess, was he wants to go queen b3 and go knight a4 if b5 was not on board, and go knight c5 or knight b6.
Even maybe even bishop b4 exchange and hold
Yeah,
the
yeah,
square.
yeah, one or the other. So okay, that's one idea, but he went knight g2. I mean, he could go knight a4, but he decided to go this way. So again, the knight wants to go after the bishop.
Yeah.
But here, there's really no way you can kick the knight out of f4. It's a very solid outpost there for some time. b5, knight f4. If I had to, choose a side in this position, I would certainly go with white, because the dark squares, after the idea that you mentioned, if bishop b4, if white manages to do it in exchange, they're looking at big weaknesses on c5. But the moment the knight moves, black will go something like a5. So maybe if white will go rook c1, so when a5 comes, I can take on b5. They use the exploit the pin. So these kind of lot of ideas are in there. Let's see which one white is going to use. And also another problem or good thing, problem for black, good thing for white, is that white has a better control of the center.
Yeah.
Black has to somehow, break open with c5 and kind of chip this d4 pawn away. If he manages to do like something like this, yeah, well and good. This could be a weak pawn on e3 at some point. But if he goes, let's say, e5 and try to get some structure like this, then white will never take this bishop. White will just hold it. White will just go e4 and say this pawn is basically blunting this bishop. This pawn is blunting this bishop if it goes to bishop g6. So you'll keep playing with a bad bishop forever. And I have a central pawn compared to your c pawn, e versus c. And with all these pieces, I would go choose the central pawn.
In the middle game, having a central majority is a big advantage.
Yeah, big advantage. And it's not easy for black to play c5 also, because the moment you play c5, you're creating a weakness on d5. And two knights are aiming at the same square. So one knight will go, that will get exchanged, the other knight will come in, and white is just having a solid outpost. So I would take white by the current position if I had to choose a side. So let's see let's look at Karan Movsesian versus Franco Valencia Angela. So Karan Movsesian is grandmaster from Armenia or Spain. I think he's from Armenia, but I've seen him play a lot of Spain tournaments. When he used to play in Spain, he used to be. I think he has lost quite a bit of rating now. He used to be somewhere around 25, 65 or around that range at some point, but now he seems to have shed some rating points. And black is Franco Valencia. She's like connected to Indian chess in some way actually. She's like Chess Base India. One of the chief editors is Nikhilesh Jain. Franco Valencia is the wife of Nikhilesh Jain, and you can see her in a lot of Indian tournaments. She's playing. I think she played Bhopal or no. I saw her some big tournament recently. Also, she played in India a few months ago. So let's see this game. Knight f3, d6. Okay, so they have a very interesting opening choice. Knight f3, d6, g3. One moment, I'm not getting this beat. Knight f3, d6, g3. Okay, I think I got the moves on my feet. Yeah, knight f3, d6, g3, f5. So this is some sort of a reversed Grand Prix that black is hoping to get. And if d4, then it becomes some sort of Dutch. But white decides not to fight for the center. White just bishop g2, knight f6 castles. So black is still going for a Dutch setup. Black wants the Dutch setup. But when you go to a Dutch setup when white has not committed d4, is that you're giving white an additional option to go d3, e4. This is one additional option which doesn't exist when white goes to the d4 move order to Dutch. And I remember that when you go knight f3, f5, the best move is like d3, and you go e4 immediately. And it is like black, if knight f6, let's say knight c3, something like this. You try to get e4 in as early as possible, and then this Dutch setup looks kind of very weird. It's not fun to play with black the moment you get d3, e4. But in this position, I think it was fine because knight f6 castle. Oh, white played c4. So white is just trying to gain more space on the queen side and play a long game. b4, e5, d3, f4. So we see the pawn break coming up here, and I mean not pawn break, pawn sacrifice.
Right.
gf4.
You're not going to take on it, right?
White decided to take the pawn. White was like, okay. White is like, okay, let's go for the complications. Let's see who can calculate better. If white doesn't have to take. White can go b5 and do some a4, a5, or knight d2 and activate the bishop. It would have been a complex one, but white decided to take. And the point is of this whole pawn sacrifice is knight h5. So black wants to get his knight to the f4 square, and potentially bishop to h3 or g4, queen d7, queen g4. Somewhere around these light squares is weak the moment the g pawn is removed out of the board. So after b5, so b5 with knight e7, let's say, in this position, and or knight d4. Knight d4 or knight d4? Knight d4, knight d4.
Take on d4, then I take, and then I take on f4.
If knight d5, let's. Sorry?
Kick the knight. Yeah, maybe kick the knight first and then play f take on f4.
That's what I think the game happened, right? B takes c6, b c6. But white had this nice tactic with e3. So the whole idea is that after cd5, bishop d5, you just take the rook on e3. And after bishop h3, you have bishop g2. So if bishop takes g2, there is king g2, and you're just exchange and 2 pawns are more than enough material to win a chess game. So after knight d5, c6, I get a feeling that white calculated up to this point, and white saw this e3 move when he took on f4. I get a feeling that's what would have happened, but or he may have found improvised on his way when they reach this position. Could be one or the either.
Unless you find something interesting, usually you don't take on f4, right?
Yeah. So most probably white calculated it out because it's a big decision, game-changing decision. And so after e3, black played bishop d7, knight b4. Yeah, now we have to save the knight somehow. Rook c8, knight c2. White is doing great. One pawn up. and no attack coming up. The queen can, I mean, queen can come to h4 maybe, but what does it do after that is the question. Because I can just come and go like rook b7 and try to generate my own counterplay. Because if you go bishop h3, no, queen f3, there is some tricks now, bishop g4. Actually, my queen may get trapped. Yeah, I think queen is trapped here. But I can't do this because there's a queen here that's controlling. Sorry, not e8, e7, and there's no good square for the queen. The queen's trapped basically. So it's basically a nice trap you can set. Go bishop a3 and like tempt white to go to f3, and then once the queen goes to f3, it's like it. I'll trap your queen, kind of like that. But let's see, knight c2. So this is the live position we have on the game, and the queen h4 is not yet played. I think queen h4 would be played, but black may have other ideas too. And from a clock perspective, white has 1 hour 11 minutes in comparison to black's 50 minutes. So I'm really interested to know actually after queen h.
Why we take on d?
With pawn or that would lead to I think black would just take here and go knight f4.
Okay.
This is kind of scary to play, and this pawn will fall too. You cannot like blow some bishop b2 and go from queen e to queen c3. It's too slow. By then black would already get queen g4 or queen g5, bishop h3. Even knight takes g2, bishop g3 check is coming up. Yeah, it's a matter of time. White does not have that much luxury of time here to say. And so black still has some compensation, but actually an interesting move for here for white is knight e1. The idea is that if I go bishop h3, I can just try to go. I'm going to go knight f3 here, but maybe I'll just go king h1. I'll take with a knight. If bishop g2, I'll take knight takes g2, or I could also force the trades with this actually. I take and go queen f3. Push the queen away. So the queen, let's say, goes to e6 or d7. Generally, you would also try to control this. Now I can go knight g2 and have my one extra pawn and play a long game. And yeah, no attack really, because unless the bishop or the knight had managed to come to these two squares, black cannot generate any attack. And this pawn is doing a fantastic job. It's on f4 stopping knight, and it's also controlling the
suddenly knight on h5 looks very bad.
Yeah, you have to read out the knight, but after f6 also, where do you go? E4, no way. E5, no way. G4 does nothing. Also, knight f6 is bad in another way. It stops the bishop and blocks the bishop on g7. So black is certainly worse. Yeah, I mean, I thought there may be some counterplay, but once I saw that white has some moves like queen h4 or king h1 even.
Knight e1.
But knight e1 makes more sense than king h1, because if bishop g4 you have knight f3. Because when you go king h1 you don't have that option. Bishop g4, I don't want to go f3, it's a very bad move, and also I'm basically killing my bishop on g2 for this again, and I have to go something like queen e1. But then again bishop h3, now I have taken away the square from my knight, things like that.
And knight is not doing anything.
Yeah, on c2
because it is not going to take on
yeah,
d4.
I mean one way it can be used or get into the game is through b4, but that is like you're one pawn up, you don't need a second pawn. You just consolidate your position and then slowly improve. That is enough to win this position. Let's see. We'll take a quick break after we'll see one more game, and then we'll take a quick break and we'll get back. So is there any game that has caught your attention? Maybe in the first three boards we left them long ago.
First board is exactly as you told, like bishop e6 and b3.
Oh, white played b3. I thought white may go a3. Yeah, b3. So
no, I think the idea behind b3 is maybe he thought he's going to anyway exchange the dark square bishop.
Yeah.
So b3 is better.
Yeah,
Put the pawns on the same color of the bishop.
Okay. Yeah, actually we'll quickly see that. Yeah, I think we can give a good update on the first four boards. Like most of them has gone similar to what we were expecting the moves to be. So after white played, this was the game with I believe what was this? This was the Petrov game. E4, E5, knight f6, knight E5, and let me see. Bishop G5. No, they didn't play f6. Bishop. I think that Bishop e3, knight c6, and h4, c6, king b1, queen.
You
I think
want
he played 12th
to
move,
move?
bishop e6, I
Yeah,
believe, right?
exactly. That's what we
This is
discussed, and B3 was played.
b3 was played. Yeah, so I was saying a3 or b3, and I was favoring more towards a3, but okay, he played b, he went with b3.
No, but what I'm thinking is logically B3 kind of like I'm asking you,
Yeah.
does it make sense? Because anyway, eventually you're going to exchange the dark square bishop, right?
Yeah.
So it's okay to play B3 because you want to put the pawns on the king side of the same color of your opponent bishop, right? That it works? Because
That
there
is
will be
one.
light square bishop left in the board.
Yeah.
So you want to have the pawns on the same color as the bishop in front of your king.
Yeah, that is that could be one way, or another thing that I think white may be also starting to consider is take this endgame to an endgame.
Okay.
In that case, what white is planning to do is play c4 at some point soon, and then keep this pawn as a weakness, because once this bishops get exchanged, d6 is a weakness.
Yeah.
So c4 would kind of fix the weakness and if the queens are off the board. That could be another reason what white is thinking. But I'm very surprised by this move, knight f3. Actually, not that much now that I think about it, because after bishop g5, 8 g5, because my earlier concern was why is black opening up the g file, but now I realize that if you have immediately option to take, if you didn't have that option to take, I think black white would just go bishop e3 and put rook g1 and start attacking on g7. But now that bishop g5,
h5,
yeah, h5, that's why he went rook e8, bishop f5, and rook h4. So now rook dh1 is coming up, next move, and I don't really see how black is going to defend this pawn.
h7 pawn, yeah.
I don't see a way out, because let me play. I mean, bishop d3 is just no brainer. You just lose a pawn immediately. Queen d. I mean, g6. That doesn't matter. Rook dh1. It's game or checkmate. So if he goes bishop, let's say if he goes bishop g6, it's also bad, because I can just take and go rook dh1, go rook h8 and checkmate you there. So that is not possible. So let's say if something like rook e5 is what black had in mind, let's assume. Still, you can just take and go rook dh1 if you want, and go after. You can d6 is hanging, h7 is hanging. This is also looks like a lost. Yeah, I don't know what really black thought when he went into this line. I mean, looks completely lost. There's no way to easily defend this. And another idea is like, let's hypothetically say that rook after rook h4. The idea what I'm trying to say is like, let's say if this was taken in the game and rook h4 and black made some one or two like empty waiting moves, something like that, b5. White has queen d3 still, or rook. You can take rook h7 and go into that endgame also. That endgame would also be clearly better for white. But the additional option white has is white can just exchange the queens and still again pick up the h7. So remove the defender, and then so h7 pawn is lost in any possible way. So there's no way that the rook can go to h8 and defend. But even if the rook goes to h8, it's going to be a very passive piece sitting on h8. So I think this game will end in another 1 hour to 1.5, maximum 1 hour, I think, because this attack cannot be stopped. So let's look at. I think we should look at Shrija Sheshadri with Pansolaya Lavanus with Shrija Sheshadri. It was a Catalan where White played knight a3 and broke his own pawn structure, and I think it started off with knight f3. Yeah, the game started off knight f3, d5, and then what did White play on move 11? So remember I was telling you, right? White will go queen a4 and then rook b6. Same thing happened in this game. And okay, White went for this line with queen takes c4, because there's another line where the one where I mentioned of giving two exchange sacrifices, another variation where some bishop d2 stuff. Yeah, this is one possible way to play, as I said. But White decided to go this line: bishop a6, queen c2, queen d4. I think queen b2. So there's some tactics to defend your weaknesses. Rook fc1, rook b8, bishop. Why rook b8? Okay, so if I take on c2, rook c2, then black basically white takes on c6 with the rook. With the rook most likely, or a bishop with the bishop. Yeah.
I can take it with the rook and attack the c7 pawn as well, right?
Yeah, you can do that, or you can take with the bishop also, because so that the e2 pawn is defended by the c2 rook. You could do that. So rook b8, bishop a7, and rook b7, queen takes b2, rook. Wow. So how many rook moves on a row? Move 1, move 2, move 3.
Huh?
Wait,
No,
wait, I
there's
think.
some transmission error, I think.
Yeah. Hopefully it's transfer, or else that's 3 rook move.
No,
I
no,
think
you
our
have to play
logic.
rook into queen.
Yeah, rook takes b.
No, there's something wrong.
I,
Why
I,
did you play
I, I
rook
get a
d5?
feeling this was what happened. I think here in this position, black took rook takes
Yeah,
b2,
yeah.
white went bishop d4.
Maybe queen d5.
Black, but why would black go here? If you take your bishop f1.
Okay.
So black went rook b8. So basically we got this position.
Yeah.
This is what is my good guess. Yeah, this is just lost straight up. This is the position that I have on my feed, and white is a pawn up, double bishops, passed pawn,
Outside passed pawn.
outside passed pawn, and if you take on d5 and take on c7, 2 pawns up,
Yeah.
and d5 will also be a weakness. White's pawn structure is like connected. This d5 pawn is isolated. Yeah, I think Lavan Pansola is just going to win this game easily. So let's look at Vaibhav Suri's game, and then we can take the break. So Saurav Anand and this Vaibhav Suri were the Caro-Kann, and they were basically the last time when we saw this game, they were still in theory.
It's the same thing, like, they're looking for the d5 and f5 square as you predicted.
Yeah, let's look at that. F4, bishop e7, bishop d2, and yeah, he played knight e5, takes one more. 14th move was long castle, bishop g3, queen g3. Yeah. So this is the game. So last time I think we left off at somewhere over here. Yeah, we left at this point. We left at this point, I believe. And I was telling that if this game ends in a draw, I wouldn't be surprised. That was my last comment. So queen d5. Okay, so white is. I said right, knight can go to d5 or f5. So they put the queen on d5 and knight on f5.
Okay.
It's the same way around basically. And also, it's funny. Even though black is a pawn down, I've seen some games where black would win this double rook as bishop, double rook as knight in game. How that would happen is black would get the c5 break in,
Okay.
and then the d4 pawn would fall, and then the e5 pawn would fall.
Okay.
So I've seen some games where like black would play like amazing in games on this with the pawn down position and beat white. It'd be like, how can that happen?
Why did he? Okay, give the pawn for the f pawn.
So rook h1. Okay, there's a bunch of moves played. I believe rook h1, queen a2, and one moment c3, queen d5, rook h1, queen a2, rook f. I think it's a transmission error. Yeah, it's some big transmission error going on. I'm not sure. Okay, we'll get back to this game. I think we'll take a break now. And in the meantime, I will, to the audience, I will put the board of, so you can watch the game. Let me feed the top board's game for Rook Amanado because I think a result would come maybe even by the time our break is done.
Yeah.
They may finish, they may get a break. So. Welcome back everyone to the live streaming of round 2 of Delhi International Chess Open. I think there seems to be quite a bit of results that has trickled in. Can you give the updates, Vivek, on the results?
Vaibhav Suri have decided to take a draw.
Okay, so did they play more moves since the last time we checked their game, or?
Not really. After they took the 18 pawn.
I think last time we
there
said
was a transmission
error, right?
Yeah.
On so 19th move, rook queen takes a2 was the last moment move we covered. Rook takes f7, and queen a1, queen. Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's a draw.
they took this draw. So this is all this. I think at least there should be 100 odd games played like this and taken a draw here. So I mean, white.
Is it surprising Vaibhav Suri to take a draw with a 2200 player in this style?
I mean, it is. As I said, this is. I think if audience who are watching and remember, somewhere around here I said this game's heading towards a draw, right? And it is. It's more like a. How to say? Maybe he didn't expect his opponent would go into this kind of Caro-Kann, because Caro-Kann is a very theoretical opening, and if white came, let's say, very well prepared, then yeah, obviously the game is going to end in a draw. And having a black piece, you cannot do much, even if you're a higher rated player, unless you play some unorthodox opening or so on. But when you're playing this main line with so much theory, it is certainly going to take a end in a draw, and I'm not really surprised. And I think Vaibhav Suri also should be, not be very happy about it, but I think he would be too disappointed also about this result, in my opinion, because black pieces a draw opened is some 2250 around some that rating range, I believe 2210. Not a too bad result. Still with 7-8 rounds to go, I think he can bounce back easily. Yeah, so that's kind of a mini upset result-wise. And is there any other results that? What happened to the Abhijit Gupta game? Abhijit should have won a piece, but how is he only an exchange?
He has a pawn on
Knight f6, bishop b2, rook a d1, and rook a d8. Just where did I leave the line? d5, e d5. Just one moment, I think I'm not sure if I got the game right. Knight h4, g6, queen g. Yeah,
no.
Yeah, this is the game.
Yes, exactly. Knight at d6.
Okay, so she played knight c6. We completely missed this one. So she's saving the bishop, but she's giving up a pawn in return. A far advanced pawn on the 7th rank, rook d7, f5, bishop d5, e4. So how did white lose the exchange, or did he sacrifice an exchange, one or the other? I think Abhijit just sacrificed the exchange. So the point for now is that the knight is planning to go to f6, and it's checkmate coming up. So if rook f8, maybe knight
e7 followed by.
No, but that is not what really white wants. So right now what is like, white has 7 pawns and black has 6. But the question is, what will black do? Let me just go king f2. I'll play king f2. If you go g5, I'll go king e3. And then I'll go king d4. And then I'll go b4. I'll play c5, b c5, king c5, and then I'll go b5. White can do anything he wants, and black cannot. Both the rooks are stuck to the 8th rank. The king is also cut off. So
White is play g5, maybe you'll play king f4, king g5, king f6 all the way.
That I could do. So I could also start the other way around. I could start it with going h4 here if I want to.
Preventing g5.
Yeah, but then h6, it's the same story with just the h pawns being exchanged. And maybe this is a better version, because now I can go knight e7 and try to take this pawn. It's a better version of the same line. So c8 is also a threat, and also at the same line knight takes. And if here I can just go after this pawn if I want to. Or no, now c8 works.
Yeah,
because it's a discovered check, so my knight cannot be captured. So yeah, h4 could be a better version of the sequence. And then just go king f2, and then do this king walk and checkmate. Very nice checkmate that white can do in this position. So still, this result should also come in soon. And then let's look at some game which we didn't devote any time to so far on this. We did look at the Besiktas game earlier, and How about we see Arvinder Preet Singh was peak out the game. I'm very interested to know how the white bishop ended up on f2 in a position.
Okay.
And just one. Let me get the game on my screen. e4, c5. And P. Karthikeyan is one of the recently, new grandmasters. He became a grandmaster, I think, in late 2018, a
Yeah.
few months ago. So knight f3, d6. So we have a knight orf here, and okay, so a3. Arvinder, and I think Arvinder Preet Singh is an amateur world, some amateur champion, something, right? A national amateur champion or something. I think he's a two-time national amateur champion.
Should be, yeah. I
Yeah.
kind of remember
The
name.
most recent, I think there was a national amateur championship. I think it was held in Haryana or somewhere, right? 2018 edition.
20, yeah, Punjab.
Yeah, Punjab, and
Jalandhar.
if my memory serves me right, I think he was the champion of the tournament. So, a3. So this is an idea that was first came into the top spotlight, I think, when Anish Giri used it last year in 2018. He used it against Magnus or someone with white pieces. The idea of a3 is basically white has played every possible move here. h3 is basically the main move these days. I mean, bishop e3 used to be the old main line. Before that, bishop g5. In the 1980s, bishop g5 was like played often. Then bishop e3, when the English players popularized this setup, bit like Nigel Short, so Tony Miles and so on. Those players played bishop e3 extensively. Then bishop c4 was played if you wanted an aggressive game, sacrificing stuff. So then a4 was played often by Gada Kamsky. The idea was to stop b5. This is one way to play. There is some dubious tries like rook g1. Bishop e2 is also one way to play positionally. So the idea of a3 is that white wants to go bishop c4 at some point and go bishop a2. White just wants to put the bishop there. That's it. White is basically playing a waiting move, and he's saying which setup you want to play. Do you want to play like a dragon?
Okay,
Do you want to play like e6? Do you want to play e5? Based on that, I'll use my a3 move. So the a3 move is a pass, but some sort of a useful pass. And black played e6, principal response, bishop e3, b5. So now a3 makes some sense. It's stopping b4. So sometimes it transposes to some normal variations. f4, knight d7, queen e2, knight. Okay. Why didn't white go queen f3? Normally they put the queen on f3 and try to put the queen on h3 and do some sack here or put some pressure here. But here white went queen e2 and white had to go bishop f2. Why not e5? Because I think if e5 there's d e5, f e5 and knight d5. This is, and black's bishop on b7 becomes very strong. That's the problem, I believe. So after knight c5, bishop f2, e5. It's a very committal move.
Yeah, you're moving the d5 square.
You're giving two clear weaknesses for your opponent.
But
so
does it also makes the bishop on d3 bad?
that is true, but he ended up taking the bishop two moves later. He captured on d3, so it's like if that was the idea, he wouldn't have captured on d3, right? So, I mean, this makes some sense. If knight f5, there's always g6, and then you push the knight further back, and then actually you'll win a pawn also.
Control out d5 completely, I think.
Knight e3, but your e4 is hanging, right? So maybe first, let's say I take e takes f4. Oh, but then now you may have e5. This is very strong. So knight f5, let's say g6, knight e3. And if I take here,
give the pawn.
knight d5, very logical. I will take this, and if knight d5, then I'll go bishop g7, trying to attack this. In case if you take this, I have bishop e7 and short castle, and then the square is taken away. You cannot have a knight on d5, and I have an extra pawn. You can do something with bishop d4 and all, but I always have bishop f6 to counter your dark squared bishop. So now knight f is not really optically looks very scary, but concretely black can defend it easily. So f e5, so d takes e5, knight f5, knight d3, c takes d3.
You only explained why do you want to take on that bishop? Is that
because right now knight g7 is the threat, and then bishop c5. The bishop on f8 is overloaded. So what else can you do? You can go knight e6. Yeah, but then the point is maybe some.
Looking at f4 square.
Does this work? Maybe this one. He's worried about this. and then just rook d1. He's worried about getting basically a resignable position for black, because if just pile up the pressure, even long castle, you don't have to do anything. Yeah, just long castle, queen d3, put pin that d7 knight further, and then this bishop rook are not in the game.
Okay.
One white is playing with all his pieces, black is playing with two pieces less basically. That's why he decided to take on d3, because if not the bishop, white's bishop would land on b5 with a check. So he decided to remove that, all the tactics.
Knight into b5, knight f4, is there anything like that? Can you just take a quick look at it? If knight into b5, what if I don't take
which position? Over here?
After knight e6. Yeah.
Okay.
E6,
you want to go some knight f4 or something?
Yeah, I just want to, I'm just curious, is there anything? Because now I can take on d3, then take on b5.
Actually, yeah, this could work. Yeah, this could actually work. Then what am I really missing? Let's say just a long castle. Let me just castle. Now I threaten to take on b5.
Black king is still stuck in the center.
Yeah, and if you go queen a5, then I'll take on b5. If knight f4, now I have knight d6 check. Yeah, bishop d6, knight d6. And if you go king e7, I can just move my queen, because anyway I can, or I can give a check and move my queen away. This is the line, I believe. Yeah, so
ideally black would not prefer to take on the bishop, but here
but here for that white has a lot of tactical ideas, so he's forced to take. Makes the position also good. So knight e3. Now white's idea is straightforward. Just go bishop h4, take this, put this knight d5, and control the light squares as much as possible, because black will just take all the dark squares. And bishop e7. So I think I'm seeing some tactic. If white goes bishop h5, is this a live position, or they actually played some moves after this? So he went bishop g3. If bishop h4, I think that's this tactic. Knight takes e4, bishop takes e7, knight takes c3. Oh no, this doesn't work, because after here, bishop f6, and then the rook is attacked, and then the knight can be captured the next move. So for bishop h4, then what exactly did black have in mind? Let me just knight h5, move his knight. Because I'm pretty sure black isn't interested in giving up the knight just like that. So maybe black just goes knight h5, takes queen e7, knight d5, queen d6, and just keep playing something like that. The knight f4 potentially coming up soon. So for bishop, but in the game, white played bishop g3. White didn't go bishop h4. So for bishop g3, still knight h5 was played. Oh, sorry, bishop g3.
Yeah.
This is very strange. Why would black give up a pawn? What kind of compensation is he looking for here? If bishop f6, so I just take bishop takes f6 here. And knight d5 is coming. Even rook f1, short castle. Million ideas that white has like any idea.
But I don't see
maybe transmission error. Because generally, if you play knight h5 after bishop e5, you would play your move immediately. Good chances it's a transmission error. Let's wait to see if, based on what black plays, if it's a transmission error, or if he really played knight h5.
Without the pawn on e5, the knight is doing nothing on h5.
Yeah, that is true. So how about? Okay, I have a very interesting game, I think, over here. This is a game somewhere on board 28. White is Kuzan Kojahev, Mohammed. Black is Baghdatian. Kuzan Kojahev, that name looks like someone from one of the old USSR countries, somewhere like Turkmenistan, or I'm not sure exactly, Uzbekistan, or maybe he's a player from Uzbekistan. And Baghdatian. So these are two international players who are playing in India. White is 2455 and black is 2048. So in other games we saw the top players were playing 2200 oppositions, but as this is a board around 25, we see that the opposition is like the rating is around under 2100. So this is a game that started with knight f3, d5, g3. No, they started with d4.
Knight f3, d5.
I think it just transposed
d4,
into this.
knight f6. C4, E6.
I think it.
G3, bishop E7, BG2, castle, castle,
Why
and C6.
I'm not able to copy something here. Let me get this game up and running. Knight F3, D5, G3, Knight F6. Okay, here it is. The game. C6, Queen C2, so Knight E4. So here DC for the main line, but DC6 is another way to play. This is also a main line. This is more for if you want to play a longer game with chances for both sides. Generally go C6, and this leads to some sort of a Dutch stone wall. Dutch stone wall, F5, G5, and there's a lot of theory in this opening or this position also. So white exchanges the dark square bishops and leaves black only with a bad bishop on C8. This is a very standard idea in Stonewall that white does B3, bishop A3. And it's critical to note that after A4, black responded to the A5 because if not, white will play A5 and gain more space. After that, black doesn't even have an also B6, which is one way to develop the bishop on C8. So A5, bishop A3, bishop A3, knight A3, queen E7. Tying down this rook for temporarily at least, and this knight has to come back into the game. It has to either the queen has to move. Knight. Generally, one idea I see in some of these positions like queen B2, knight C2, and then try to go C5, B4. That is one way. Or another, they just go back knight B1 and go back knight C3. So there's two good ideas that bring that knight into the game. Here, white played knight E5, and so what white exactly is trying to do? Let's say take. So he's saying that with the pawn on e5, I've taken away these two squares away from your knight, and you have to go knight c5. But the point, I'll go something like rook fc1. I'll be like, I'm threatening to take next move. So if you go knight d7, now I'll go f4. Now this bishop is bad, and your knight is. And but you can go knight a6 and try to go for this out. But the problem is then you can go some line like queen c3, knight b4, knight c2. And this position is like we are playing this bishop. Which bishop is worse? And I would say c8 bishop is worse. And another problem for black in this position is that after b6, one you can go like c5, or also you can play cd5, cd5 and take control with queen c7, something like that. Yeah. So what happened in the game? After knight e5, I think black played f5, right? In this game.
Yeah, f5, knight e5,
yeah, f5. So black decided not to capture e3, but he captured like a move later. But here, okay, so now the idea is that f3, f4, the knight's going to come back to e4 and rook f.
Attack on the king side.
It's an interesting way how black has fixed his pawn.
e4 is committal, right? Maybe.
He wants to attack on the king side. He has to generate play. This position, if black doesn't generate any play with h5, h4, hg3 and try to attack, his position is very passive. Because where is this bishop? This bishop has like no immediate.
Have to come out, right? Maybe when the pawn is on g5. I'm curious to know.
Oh, you want to do this bishop, this maneuver?
Yeah, is there time or not?
So the first question is after bishop d7, I'll play f3. After knight c5, I'll take him a pawn.
Okay.
This is the first problem that black has. The second problem is if b6, I can just take and go knight b5. And my knight can hit here, or knight c7. Big problems coming up. Or even I can just simply put my queen on 7th run, exchange and get the rooks there. And I'll play bishop e4 even. I'll give up the bishop even at some point. Because then I'll just go knight b5, knight d6. One rook will be on c7, knight on d6. Then you cannot come f7 or c8 and challenge me on the 7th rank. Your king will be stuck to the 8th rank, and I'll slowly improve my king's position and win the game. That's another way. So this is like positionally white is just squeezing black. Yeah. So g4 and then queen b2. So also g4 the idea of stopping f3. That's another idea. Queen b2, knight g5. So now he's trying some maybe this checkmate, all this idea. But knight c2 comes in time. So knight e1 so that the f3 square is well guarded.
Getting to d4, I think.
Knight e1, h4. But black needs at least 5 moves to develop any sort of attack in this position. But okay, white just because you have to develop these two before you are talking about any attack. These two, this bishop and rook have to do some duty in the game. But interesting, very interesting choice by white. Just took on h4. It's like okay, I'll just take, and if knight e4, I think what he had in mind was maybe f3. So maybe what he is trying to say is that if the position opens up, the fact that you haven't developed means I have the liberty to open up the position in the way I want, even if it's enclosed to me having a double pawn. I'll just go rook g1, bishop h3, and exchange rooks on h file and do something with
Knight
that.
d3, knight f4.
Yeah, do something. So knight f7, an interesting move. f4, queen h4, queen f2. Yeah, endgame would certainly favor.
Black, I think.
Yeah, because all the pawns are fixed on white.
Yeah.
Fixed on white, and white has a white square bishop. But black does not have any target. It's attacking this pawn or this pawn with this bishop is like not going to happen anytime soon. d7, cd5. Okay, he wants to go knight c2. So I think he wants to put the knight on d4 and then take cd5, where black won't have the option to play ed5. Because if cd5, ed5 directly, then the knight may go f8, e6 and get an outpost there. Strong outpost blockading the pawn, which means the knight will become very strong and the e5 pawn becomes actually like no point.
No, you can't move anywhere.
So after here, knight d4, knight d8. So black is also preparing. He wants to still wants to take with ed pawn potentially. But then white just opens up another flank. So all the black pieces are moved to the queen side. It's like I switch gears. I go to the king side now. Now black again has to do everything, but the problem is when you come knight f7, rook g1, check comes immediately. King f8, and a very interesting way. Instead of going rook g1 or rook h1, he's going bishop g2 first, so that he wants to, I believe, put the rook on each one. And
basically he's telling him no hurry, like no, let me school.
And also another idea that if knight f7, I don't know if he'll do this, but there is this idea also to take and go e6. You're left with two big weaknesses, and white will be able to win at least one pawn, and then the second pawn would somehow fall. But he doesn't have to do this. He can just keep playing another 100 moves before, because the knight on d4 controls the square also. So the rook can just move rook h1. It's like where, yeah, even if it comes rook c3, it's not attacking b3. This knight, this is the power of a very strong outpost. Covers this square, defends this pawn,
looking at
and
e6 square.
Yeah, looking at e6 square. You cannot even exchange it anytime soon. Only knight d8, knight c8, but that's like, I don't know when that will even happen, because once rook h1, this knight is kind of tied down to defending the h8 and h7 squares. So these are two big problems that some of the problems that black has in this position. So on what exactly did black play on move turn? So bishop a3, king f8, bishop g2, king e7, and then okay, so they made two more moves on the board. Rook h1, knight f7, and I just played rook ac1. Yeah. I will choose when I want to take cd5 is what he's saying. I'll choose the right moment when your rook is either goes to h8, maybe I'll just open then and bring rook c7. And if any side wins, it will be white. This is like the perfect example of playing for two results. There's no way that black can win this. There's no targets he can attack, but white has a lot of targets to attack. So let's say if black goes rook h8 in this position. If black follows up and rook h8 in this position, I expect white to play something like maybe let's go king e2, maybe improve his king up to c3, bishop on f3. That sounds like a very okayish plan for white. Or also white can think about bishop h3, and then or maybe cd5, let's say cd5, ed5, and bishop h3, trying to take the pawn. That is, if rook h5, then now this doesn't work though. The point is black can take rook f2, takes f5. If bishop f5, then yeah, you would win the pawn. But rook f5, knight f5, bishop f5, this is fine, very good for black. So
we don't want that.
We don't want this too. So maybe maybe he'll still wait to take on d5. Maybe few more decisions.
I just have a question. Like, for example, if I fix this question something like c5 after rook h8.
White plays c5.
Yeah. Okay. Fix it and exchange the rooks. Can I win that ending? Because that bishop is such a bad bishop.
Okay, let's just try to get that position. Rook h8, knight h8. So the king has only two ways to enter this position, either here or somewhere over here. These two squares are the only way. So let's say I go king g2. I'll go king f7, bishop f3, and then I'll go king g7. And then if king h4, that's king h6. And bishop h5, that's knight g6 check. Bishop g6, king g6. This should be winnable because The knight can go anywhere around. Maybe knight will go to g5 and the king will walk all the way outside. And most likely that I think the path, winning path would be something. And if the king is too far away, go here, and take the pawn. That is one line. That's one. And other than this, the other way to, let's say if you try to do the other way around.
Yeah, come b4 and
let's say if king e1, knight f7, or king 96, king d2, king d8, king c3, king c7, b4, c b4, king b4. Here the problem is the square is well guarded. Like I can't go king a5, king b6. I can try to widen the the position is going a5, a6, and create this as a weakness. But before that, I think I'd just go here. Sorry, it's black to play. So black, let's say it goes knight. So if knight h4, I'll just go bishop h1. And then I'll try to, first what I'll do, I'll put my bishop here, tie down the bishop and knight.
Yeah.
And then I'll try to improve a5. And then maybe I'll walk all the way around with my king. But this is still not very clear if it's winnable because the weaknesses are b7 and e6, the two weaknesses really, and they're very close to each other. And if the bishop on c8, it can defend both the weaknesses at the same time. So let's hypothetically say that white managed to get knight on a5 and bishop on f7. The bishop on c8 does the job of defending both the weaknesses, just being on one square. So a more, I think, precise way to win the chance would be to bring the king through the king side, h4, g5, because that way the king gets access to f6 or h6, some square at some point. Yeah, and the point is black cannot really kick the king out because if knight f7 check, let me try to get that position. As you see here, the king cannot be checked anytime immediately. So maybe one variation that black can try is.
But e6 is hanging.
Let's give a check here. Yeah, first I was saying if I can go bishop e8 or something, but e6 is out. So knight check, let's say. King here, knight here, and bishop h5. Knight check, king here. So now I've restricted the king. I mean, basically pull the king back to h4, and let me go back knight f8. Now white has to find some useful moves if he wants to win because this bishop. One try would be to go knight c2.
Okay.
Because now this bishop cannot come out anytime soon. So let's say black just goes front and back. King h6, b4, he takes, and goes back. And again I go knight c2, knight d4. Yeah, this is
to know that generally, when we have two superior pieces, you have two minor pieces, which is far superior than the opponent minor pieces.
True.
And you have a decent king.
Yeah.
Can we, without any further calculation, can we exchange and go for an ending?
I mean, certainly you can go. I mean, if you have a better option, then yeah, think about it. But if your other option is also to keep the rooks on the board, and for example, the starting position was somewhere over here. In a position like this, I would suggest exchange one pair of rooks and keep the second pair with you. Okay. So the one pair of, if you have both the rooks on the board, then yeah, your opponent can create counterplay also. But when you exchange one pair of rooks and just leave the one rook on its own, and if it's from the defending side's rook, it cannot generate the same amount of counterplay as when it has also another rook to defend it. So if it was here, what I would do is I would exchange first rook and improve everything as I can. And then if I cannot succeed to win with the rooks on the board itself, then I'll try to exchange the rooks. And then again, because here, as I said, black does not have any idea. So you can play even 100 moves. Yeah. And it's actually good if you play 100 moves. You tire your opponent out. Because you can go bishop f3, bishop g2 20 times. Your opponent does not have the same liberty. If you go bishop f3, bishop e2, bishop d3, it may seem like you just moved the bishop 4 times. But the idea is different. Now target is f5, not d5. But black has to constantly keep an eye on which motive white is attacking. So when he's defending, it's very harder to defend a position.
From maintaining tension on c4, d5 pawn
tension. And also it's not like he has weaknesses which we are not attacking immediately. It's more of he's cramped for space and his pieces does not have good squares. If it's a clear target, then your opponent can just keep defending it again and again, and it's easy to defend in those cases. But in these cases, he has to find a plan and then he has to stick to it. And when your opponent tries a different setup to attack, you have to change your defensive setup to that.
You have to be very prophylactic.
Yeah, prophylactic. That is, it's not an easy skill that a lot of players have. So there's actually a few more moves, I believe, no? Oh no, 29 rook AC1, and this is where the game is right now, and I think it's where we also left the last time.
Yeah.
Okay. So in this moment, let's look at some other game. And in the meantime, Vivek, if there's any strong players who have finished their game, you can bring them to the studio, so we can certainly, interact with them, what experiences they had today, and so on.
I'll just take
So yeah, Vivek is just taking to bring if there's any strong players who because it's like we are close to 3 hours into the game, and a lot of games could be ending up anytime soon. So let's look at Michelle Catherine versus Aragaisi Arjun. This is a game we haven't covered in a long time because it was basically a Sicilian, I think some sort of Richter Rosser. No, it was a Sicilian Nidor. E4 C5, Knight F3 D6, Knight C3 A6, and in this game White didn't play any interesting A3 or anything, but White went with H3 and H3 E6, G4, Knight FD7, Bishop G2, Knight C6. So White is playing the very standard developing moves, and some of the ideas White has is G5, H4, H5 and attack. And I'm pretty sure White. Okay, in this game White short castle. So the other way to play is White can also long castle and play. That White decided to short castle, Bishop B7, F4, Bishop E7, G5, Rook C8, Rook F2. And when it's B4, Knight D1. So in this position, instead of Rook F2, White can certainly consider a move like Knight D5. Knight D5, E D5, E5, Knight D4, Bishop takes D4, King F8 or so on. And if Bishop G7, King takes G7, Queen takes E7, and the Queen gets trapped with Rook H88. So this is not what White should do. Here after King F8, if let's say Rook A E1, Black has Rook E8, and computers generally assess this position most of the time as Black is better, but from a practical perspective that the Rook on H8 is trapped and it may take few more moves to get into the game, White has his chances. With precise play, obviously Black will win, but if White is trying to complicate the game, White wants to do some, feels like in a mode to play aggressive chess, you'll often see moves like Knight D5, especially in these type of Sicilian pawn structures. So in this position after Rook C8, White played Rook F2. I think most like White wanted to provide additional support to the C2 pawn and also wanted to double on the F file. So after Rook F2, B4, Knight D1, Knight takes D4, Bishop D4, E5, Bishop E3, Knight C, Bishop C5, D C5, Knight E3. So now then White Knight is heading towards one of the three outpost squares, D5, C4 or F5, but in return White is giving up a pawn basically on F4. After EF4, Knight F5. So this is a position that we have live, and Michelle Catherine has 21 minutes in clock and Arjun has 45 minutes. So let's say if Bishop takes G5, what happens? Knight takes G7 check, or White can even consider a move like Queen G4. It's interesting. But let's start with Knight G7 because it seems like the capture is the most logical move. Knight G7, King F8, and then Knight F5. So the question is, how is this Rook on H8 going to get into the game? He can go Rook G8 and try to pin, and let's say if White goes something like King H1 to get out of the pin, and next move threaten to go Queen H5. This is a fairly complex position, and one interesting idea that Black has actually go Bishop F6, and Black can even considering sacrificing an exchange on G2. In return, what he gets is a very weak pawn on E4, and if the E4 pawn falls, then the whole White king side king just crashes, because the E4 pawn falls, then C2 is attacked, F5 the knight would be hanging, and the king would also make come under check if the king continues to remain on H1. So Knight E3, F4. In this position, we are still waiting for a move by black after knight f5. And if short castle, trying to play it safe, then white may even consider a move like, if knight e7, queen e7, rook f4, then there's queen takes g5, and white is just a pawn down. So maybe white may consider a move like queen g4 with some checks like knight h6, that's in the air, and also knight e7, queen e7, and you can play queen takes f4. So these are some ideas that white has. I think black is better, but let's see. But white still has some, tricks on potentially on g7, and or you may even get to some sort of an opposite colored bishop endgame with some drawing chances. So it will take, I think, another 5 to 10 moves to get a clear idea of where this game is heading towards, so in whose favor. So let's look at the next game. And let's see if there's any actually results, because there's Farooq Amanato versus Kurbanbayeva, which was the top board. I was expecting white to attack at the h7 pawn, but we have got a very interesting hit where the white rook actually ended up on a7 instead of h7. So let's see how that happened. So after bishop d6, b3 was played in the game, and rook a4. One moment. 17th move, black played rook a d8. Yeah, so this is the game continuation, and white could have played rook dh1, but instead white decided to go with rook a4 and just win a pawn over there. But it's like, I'm happy with this extra pawn. And now one of the threats is the rook will drop back to a4 and go to rook a e4. That's how the rook can get activated back into the game. And if f takes g5, f g5, then black cannot really get anything out of this h pass pawn, because of h5 it's just weakening his own king side, and he's actually just losing a pawn in this case. And if d5 or anything, white's rook, as I said, just comes back to a4 and then maybe h4 and get banned, and that one extra pawn is very valuable once you exchange the queens in this position. So still I would prefer white in this game, and even though he didn't decide to just go direct for the king attack. And as expected, Abhijit Gupta won his game, and in a very similar fashion to what we were earlier discussing, white's knight on e7 was too strong. And let's look at this game, Sendil Maran versus Alexandrov. We never got a chance to look at this one, and they have a very interesting position right now with white Sendil Maran, who's 2183, having 11 minutes in clock, and Alexandrov has 57 minutes in his clock, a huge time difference in the clock. So c4, e6, knight f3, d5, d4, knight f6. So we got another Slav, or sorry, Queen's Gambit accepted kind of position, and a6, bishop g5. This is all theory, nothing really much to talk about here. Knight e4, queen c2, bishop b6. So white has a very active knight on g5 in this position, and some threats on h7 pawn, e6, f7, a lot of threats in there. And black decided to go rook c8. The point is that if knight takes h7, there's cd4, and the queen on c2 is attacked. And if the queen moves anywhere, then there's d takes e3 followed by bishop c5, or let's say if queen d2. Then another idea is also that black can play is rook takes h7, queen takes h7, and play queen takes d2. Black has two minor pieces for the rook, and also potentially spinning b2 or e3 pawns, and black is most likely in a winning position, will have a winning position at that point. So rook c8, rook a c1, and if let's say if c takes d4 is played in this position, maybe what white had in mind was maybe even to consider giving up his queen. This could be a very interesting way for white to play. I don't wait, something is missing. So in this position, after one moment, the audience, just give me a minute. I think either I got the feed wrong here. Rook takes c1, and c takes d4. Let's see if bishop c takes. Yeah, this is an interesting way, as I was saying, maybe, but I don't think this gives is good enough compensation. But this is one way I could consider playing this. But in the game, black played queen d8, knight bishop f3, c takes d4, queen b1, rook takes c1. The knight is hanging, but at the same time the bishop is hanging. And if bishop takes f3, white can play knight takes f3. So for rook takes c1, rook takes c1, bishop f3, knight f3, d3, fe3. So the rook on h8 and the bishop on f8 is yet to be developed, and we are on move 19. So black is going to face big problems in completing his development. In the meantime, white also has some ideas like rook d1 followed by knight e5. And black can never really castle anytime soon, because the moment you castle, the queen takes a7 checkmate coming up. And for fe3, let's say if black played bishop e7, I think bishop e7. I mean, I think black is still thinking, but if bishop e7 looks like a very logical move, attacking the knight on g5. One way to keep the pressure up is by going h4 and keeping the knight on g5, because if you remove the knight and go to something like knight e4, then black can just short castle. Then black has kind of completed its development. But if h4, then there's h6, then there's knight takes e6, fe6, queen g6 check, king f8, and rook f1 maybe, or knight d4, threatening to play knight takes e6, and white is winning here. So in this position, after h4, let's say if black goes knight f6 and rook d1, queen c7. Oh, instead of rook d1, white can also play knight e5, threatening to go knight c6 or take on f7. This is another interesting way to play. And a more direct approach would be also just take knight takes f7, king f7, and go knight g5. But I don't think this is enough compensation, because if king g8, knight takes e6, queen d7, and then knight d4, black can go g6 and go king g7, and black's king would come out safely, and the rook will get activated from h8. Okay, so there were some updates in the game. So why black did go bishop e7 as expected, and white played queen e4. Okay, so white is saying that bishop g5, knight g5, queen g5, I can just go rook c8 check and take the rook. I don't even have to defend my knight. And also now the threat of knight takes e6 is very direct, and if knight f6, there is moves like queen c6 check, queen d7, queen a8 check, bishop d8, and maybe something like knight e5. And then again queen c6 check is threatened if the queen moves, f7 pawn is hanging, and black, I think, has landed himself in a huge trouble. This could be the big upset of this round if Senthil Maharan manages to beat Alexandrov. But Alexandrov has clock in his favor, 28 minutes compared to white's 9. So white would have to calculate fast and figure out the winning variations, even though he's like clearly better right now. Even though white is a pawn down, the initiative is gives way more compensation than the value of the pawn. Actually, there's another result, a game which we didn't cover today at all. Rajesh Nayak, 21-81, lost his game against S.L. Narayanan, Grandmaster, 25-75. And let me see if there's any other results. There's another result also that's come in. Masango Spencer lost his game against Deepen Chakravarti. So far, and another result that has come in is Debashish Das has beaten Soham Dattar. Debashish Das is the Grandmaster here, and his opponent is 21-22 rated player. And let me see, there's one more result, another Indian Grandmaster winning. So far I think all the Indian, except for Vaibhav Surya, all the other Indian Grandmasters have won their game. Swapnil Dopde beat Udit Kamdar. That's also a game which we didn't get time to cover. And but there's still plenty of games going live, because the organizers are giving live feedback for 30 games. Even if like 10 games, close to 10 games are completed, there's still 20 more games that we can look and analyze. Let's look at the game Peichadze Luka versus Vaibhav Mishra. So Pechadze Lucas, the 2583 Grandmaster from Georgia, and he's having the white pieces against Vaibhav Mishra, who's 2196. So white played e4, e5, knight c3, and the current position they have is this. Let's quickly see if there was any interesting moments on the way to get the current position. So white plays a very positional setup with bishop c4, knight c3, a Vienna game, and white doesn't mind giving up the bishop for the knight because white gets really good control of the d5 square. Bishop b4, knight g2, d6, h3, bishop e6, b3. This whole game is going to revolve around d5, d6, these two squares. Castle, bishop c. An interesting recapture. Generally white would take with knight, but here white decides to take with the queen. I think what white had in mind was to go f4 and take with a knight next move. Castle, f4, retakes f4, bishop f4, f6, and knight d4, bishop rook e8, rook e1. Okay, so the knight and the bishop are very well positioned for white, and some deadly ideas with queen g3 is in the air. So black goes bishop g6, covering the g file, b4, a5, c5. So now white is trying to play on the dark squares. d5, queen takes, queen b3, bishop f5, ef5, c6, and not really much on actions. Just both sides have consolidated their position. Black managed to get an outpost on e5 for his knight. So black is just, as you can see, is just moving his king and queen front and back. So he's asking like white, do you have an active plan to do something? And white is like, yeah, I do. And white just goes g4, h4, and then g5 is coming up. And once g5 comes, white will just shift all the action to the h file, rook h3, maybe king g2, rook e h1, and try to checkmate on the 8th rank. So black thought that I can just sit and defend by moving my pieces front and back, but he missed that white has an active counter plan over not counter attack, more like a direct attack, because black is not really attacking anything here. And the problem is if the queen moves anywhere outside of c7 or b8, black will just lose the pawn. Bishop takes e5 is always there, and that one extra pawn is enough for white to convert that queen and pawn in game. Okay, to the viewers, I'll just take a quick break because there's a lot of results coming in. We will have to see which game is the one we should focus. So I'll be right back in a few minutes, just a quick break. And in the meantime, I'll put the highest rated game that's Welcome back, everyone, to the round two live commentary coverage of the Delhi International Chess Open 2019. And I'm Grandmaster Priyadharshan. So, as I was before the break, I was telling there's quite a bit of results are slowly starting to trickle in. We are basically into the fourth hour of the game. The game started at 9:30 and it's like 12:45 now. So, a lot of results have done or very close to the game is going to being done in another 10-15 minutes. So some results that has the games that has done in the last 10-15 minutes is that Kirill Stupak, Grandmaster, has beaten Arpita Mukherjee in 35 moves, and the final position is very pleasing to the eyes actually. The pawn structure that White managed to get at the end of the position was really a beautiful one in my opinion. I'll just show you the final position. So a very amazing pawn chain starting with h3, g4, f5, e6. All the black pieces are very passive. I mean, the knight has no good squares. The bishop on f8 is only square it has is e7. Queen on g7 is so passive. The knight on a6 is right now hanging. The c8 rook is attacked. So it was it was the best decision that black could make was to resign in this position, as there's no good way to save this game. So this is another result that was expected on the lines of where the higher rated player beats the GM beats the non-title player. And then let's see if there's any other result. This one, yeah, N Lokesh lost to NR Vishak. So the black was higher rated player in this game. Black was 24-86, white was 21-33, and we never got a chance to look at this game earlier. But the result is that black managed to win this game. So other than that, this game, let's look at the game Mohammed Kuzan Hajar versus Baghdadian. We had left this game around move 27, and now they are somewhere near move 38. They played close to 10 more moves since the last time we looked at this game. Knight f3, d5, d4, knight f3, d5, d4, knight f6. Yeah, I think black played c6 in this game. Yeah, this is the game. And we left at some point over here, and we were debating how white could increase his advantage, as even though black has two weaknesses, it's not that easy to attack the weaknesses. And the game continued. G takes h3, bishop takes h3, king f8, bishop g2, and black followed up with king e7, rook h1, knight f7, rook a c1, and black here played rook a b8. And white just played bishop f3, white improving his bishop and potentially going to the h5 in the next move. Rook h8, c takes d5, c d5. Now that the rook moved from c8 to h8, white decides to exploit the drawback of that move by playing c takes d5, so that the 7th rank, the c7 square is open for the white rook to invade, and I think that's what happened in the game too. c d5, c d5, rook takes h8, knight h8, and first white played bishop h5. So the point is that he's taking away the g6 square from the knight, and if knight f7, which was played in the game, white just takes on f7. So bishop f7, king f7, rook c5, b6, rook c7, king e8, king g3, king d8. So this is a position that's on the live board, and black has very passive pieces because the bishop on d7 is stuck to defending the e6 pawn, and the rook on a7 is on 7th rank, and it is basically tying down the whole black's king, bishop, and rook. So if let's say if black tries something like rook c8, then white will just can play even rook b7. So let's say king h4, rook c8. White also has ideas like king g5, rook c3, king f6. And if rook takes e3, you have rook a8 check, bishop c8, rook c8, and white wins the game. So white's plan is very simple. The knight is on a great square, the rook is on an amazing square on the 7th rank. The only piece that is yet to be active or really active in the game is the king. So his plan would be to walk on the dark squares and then either pick up the e6 pawn or try to deliver a checkmate. So most probably how black would respond is black would just play rook king e8, let's say king h4, and sadly black cannot also go king e7 due to this knight c6 check. and then take the rook on b8. So for king h4, rook c8, king g5. If he goes king e7 now, black, rook b7, rook g8 check, and then you can go back king h4. Now the g3 square is controlled, and the b6 pawn cannot be defended by any means black, so white will just play rook takes b6 the next move, and white will end up with an extra pawn. And then also the a5 pawn would be weak after that, and white also managed to pick up the a5 pawn, as he basically has an outside passed pawn, outside connected passed pawns. So that's about this game, and then let's see if there's any other results that has come in the last few minutes. Let's look at the game Gajek Radoslav versus Mirzad Wahabuddin. This is a game we didn't get a chance to look at earlier, but right now looks like white is very close to winning because the rook. Let me bring that game up before we talk about it. C4, knight f6. So this is the current position that's on the board, and white has 5 pawns and black has 3. So white is 2 pawns up, and all other materials equal. Both sides have 2 rooks, queen and knight, and white is threatening to go g5 the next move and win the rook on f6. So this pin is very deadly, and black cannot really get out of the pin. So I actually expect a resignation anytime soon from black, and black also has only 1 minute in comparison to white's 27. So we can quickly see how this game came to this position, or like where black made some mistakes and landed in such a bad position where he was his 2 pawns down and he's on his way to lose his rook. So this transpose, it started with c4 but then ended up transposing into a Maroczy bind pawn structure. The Maroczy bind pawn structures are notoriously known for their slow, squeezing games where white just outplays black after move 60, 70 or so on, and as white has so much more space and black's pieces are cramped, and black's minor pieces especially are cramped for good squares. So after knight b3, black goes b6. So I think black was worried about white playing c5 and opening up the position. That's why black went b6, stopping the c5 break. White just strengthens the center further with f3, rook c8, rook c1, bishop e6, knight d4. So now one of the ideas that white has is to go bishop h6 and exchange the dark squared bishop, and after that all the dark squares near the king would be weak. Generally, black in these positions try to generate counterplay with moves like f5 and create some break, but I guess black had different ideas and he went rook e8. And a very fantastic, I would say, deeply calculated move was knight a1, which was played by white here. So he wants to bring the knight back into the game, and he doesn't want to exchange it outright with something like knight d4. So he plays knight a1, and then a5 b3, strengthens the c4 pawn, and now the knight will come to c2, and maybe it can even go knight a3, knight b5, and get an outpost on its own. Actually, that's what ended up in this game also. White went knight a3. So both the knights, or white knights, on really strong outposts. White has placed all his pawn on the light squares, so which means black has to play on the dark squares because white has completely taken over the light squares. So rook b7, e takes f5, bishop f5, rook fe1, king h8, bishop f1. Already it is very tough to suggest moves for black because anything that black does, like an active move like e6 or e5, is generating new weaknesses. When he goes e6, d6 pawn becomes a weakness, and if he does something, let's say like knight b, he cannot play knight b4 because that's just a pawn. Where black just loses a pawn after knight b4, a b4, queen b4. So there's really no move that I can suggest for black. So black just went knight e5, and white just improved his rook, rook cd1, rook f5, bishop g5, bishop e6. So after bishop e6, now we see some weaknesses emerging in the square c6, e6, so white decides to exploit that with knight d4, d5, cd5. So now f4 is a possibility that's coming up, knight c6 is a big threat, knight e6, even a3, b4 could be a threat anytime soon. Because after once this knight is moved away from c5, knight can land on e6. So bishop f6, bishop takes f6, rook takes f6, f4, knight f7. So white got a completely dominating position, and then I think white just cashed on to it and captured the extra pawns here. So we got our first pawn with b5 and then second pawn on e7, and after g4 I think black is still thinking, or most probably the results haven't been updated because I'm not sure what black could calculate here. Black has lack of good moves. Let's look at Deepen Ghosh versus Vantika Agarwal. Deepen Ghosh playing the white pieces. He's a Grandmaster with 2544 FIDE rating, and Vantika Agarwal is 2149. And the game started with d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight f3, bishop g7, g3, castle. This is all normal theory in King's Indian. Interesting recapture by white. White takes with the e pawn instead of bishop, which is the most traditional and recapture here. So the idea of e pawn, I guess, is to create some strategic imbalance in the position and also play f4 and maybe try to create some sort of play on the open e file. But it feels more like the e file would be used to trade more pieces, especially the rooks and then maybe the queen at the end of that. But let's see what happened in the game. So black played c6, kind of giving a weak d6 pawn, because the c7, once it moves, the pawns or the squares right next to the pawn become weak, adjacent to this pawn. So here d6 becomes weak, so white exploits that with bishop a3, queen a5, queen c1. So bishop e6. So if bishop takes d6 is played here, black has knight e8, I believe. And then the bishop and knight both are attacked at the same time, and if b4 or something, black can just move his queen even. Black can just go queen h5 or queen g5, so on, and take on c4. So in this position, white decided to play knight e2, and instead of taking on d6, and after d5, c5, rook e8, knight d4. White has managed to get an outpost on his knight on d4, and after queen c7, bishop b2, queen d7, bishop f1, bishop h3, bishop d3. The g2 square is a bit weak, but there's no easy way for black to exploit this square. Like the queen cannot really come to f3 or something like queen f5, queen h5. This plan doesn't exist because the knight in d4 and bishop on d3 is supporting or guarding those squares tightly. h5, and after b4, knight h7. Let's get to the game because there's a lot of other games that's happening. So let's get to the final position and see. So this is the position that I last have on the live board, and I would say black has actually played or kept the balance in the game, and there's potentially a draw that can happen in this game, and unless white manages to create some chances, it moves like f5 here. But let's say if f5, knight d4, queen d4, and the idea is that fg6 and queen f6 is coming, so black would have to find a way to do something here. Let's see, queen takes b2, knight e6, and in case if black decides not to exchange after f5 and he goes something like knight f8, let's say, defending this pawn, and or knight g5 seems more precise because the knight can also come to e4. So in the meantime, I think Vivek is back to the studio. Any updates, Vivek?
Yeah, it's going good since it's a two-round day.
Yeah.
Like people are in rush to get back to their hotels and
take rest.
Since they finished the first game.
That makes sense. That's so we couldn't get people to join us on studio for the maybe in the next coming days we'll get more. We'll be able to get some strong grandmasters over here and some upset winners on our studio. So yeah, this game Senthilmaran, Alexandrov, we did cover a bit, and it's an interesting.
Knight f7 sack?
But I think
a piece there, right?
let me see that.
No, I was watching live and I thought like there was a piece.
Maybe
Yeah,
I haven't seen a piece sack yet. Let me get that game.
21.
I was hoping that he would sack a piece because when the last moment I left the analysis, that was like knight e6 or knight f7 sacrifice. There was
that's there. Knight f7 was played.
Yeah. But looks like black managed to consolidate after the piece,
yes,
and white was also in a kind of a time trouble. So c4. So he wanted to play rook d7 and or knight e5 check. So his idea is that to take the knight and then go knight e5 check and win the queen. But black can just go bishop f6. Queen c6 and then king. I think he missed. I think he missed this move. Most likely knight b8 was missed. So here maybe I would suggest the knight. This looks certainly, I think, maybe knight c5 for black. But then I just take on c5. It's just a pin, yeah. And let's say if king f8, then rook d1 is powerful. And if queen b6, I have rook c8 check. That's not possible. So what can really black do even in this position? Does black have any intermediate move that I'm missing? No, maybe he'll go knight f8. Yeah, maybe this is the move that. Then I can go queen e5. And if rook g8, then certainly white has compensation here. And I mean, worst case, I can just even take this. I'm threatening rook c8. I'm threatening to take this pawn, and 4 pawns, and the rook is like some tactical come. Yeah, interesting that white decided to take on f7 and not e6 in this position. Yeah, I have no clue why he decided to take on f7. Most likely he saw this and thought maybe he was winning, but then he missed this nice counter-attacking move, knight b8, after which black just consolidates the position. Now this is just desperado, g4, g5 is all like desperado. Let's go to some other game, because here I think Alexandrov would easily convert this into a win. And I think this in Luka Pechadze, Vaibhav Mishra, black may be able to hold a draw in this game. I was talking about this game when you were gone for the break, and the last position I was telling is white was trying to generate some kingside attack. Yeah. So I left her somewhere around here, saying that black is just moving his pieces front and back, and white is trying to generate attack. But then now, nice idea. So moment white played h4, both these pawns became weaknesses. And because I was telling the audience that the queen can never move, because then the black just takes on e5. But after h4, black has nice move, queen d8. The point is that if you take, you take, and you take on h4, and actually you win. You will just win another pawn also with a check.
So h4 is a mistake.
But without h4, white cannot do anything. The position is so close. So white had to do something. So white did play h4, and white is still saying, okay, now I'll take e5. At least I'm not. So what I would have suggested, maybe if white would have played king g2 first.
Yeah.
And then did maybe some triangulation with some rook e2 something, and then go h4 now. So that now if queen d8, now you can go into this endgame, and at least you're not like losing. I mean, not maybe first black will take on e5, queen e5, queen e4, because if we go directly, then it's just taken queen g7 and g4 is also defended. So I would expect black to take on e5, queen e5, queen h4. But white has his chances here. It takes this pawn here. I mean, it may end in a yeah, actually this is white wins the pawn and comes back safely. The queen managed to come back. So white pushed the pawn a bit hastily on h4.
Can you even think about putting the king on g3 and then play h4?
But that would lead to a point where after bishop e5, f e5, rook e5, black's queen will come back to c7 and pin the rook.
Okay.
So you would lose rook, or you would have to put your king on f4, but that king would be stuck there forever. Black actually can play king f7, king f6. Yeah, that would be funny position that can happen there. So white a bit early pushed h4, and black exploited the drawback amazingly well. Queen d8, king knight c4, and now we are looking at mass exchanges here, and Actually, I'm starting to like Black's
Black
position.
version, yeah, knights suddenly seem.
Extended weaknesses, one clear pawn, like white has a double pawn, and queen and knight generally plays well
combines
better.
better than queen and bishop.
And yeah, and this king seems way more safer now than this king.
So this is what happened?
This is the live position they have. Not this one. This is the live position, and obviously he cannot move his rook anywhere. He has to take.
Yeah.
Or I mean, he can go here. What about this? Rook e6. And how about if I go queen c8 now? Or queen d7? Let's say I go queen d7. Now you're forced to trade, right? Because if not, you're losing a pawn. So you have to take, and take.
Not leave the file as well.
Yeah, so I'll take the queen, and then I'll go like king f2 something. The funny thing is, black can even play something like queen e4, try to exchange. And the thing is, this knight and pawn does not let the king anywhere nearby. The only way the king can come closer is if he goes this and goes like king d1, but that's too long of a journey.
It's a wonderful blockade with the pawn and the knight, right? It's basically cut off.
And when the king comes to b3, black can even go b5, a b6, knight takes b6. So I'm actually starting to like black's position a lot, but white has a huge time advantage, which is a great thing. Okay, so we lost our connection there for a few seconds, and we are back again online. And as I was saying before we lost the connection, that in this position black is having a wonderful position, and black maybe even sees the initiative here. So Michelle Katrina lost to Arjun Aragasi. This is a result that just has come in, and so Arjun Aragasi also moves to 2 point. He's also one of the Indian grandmasters who is going for the title. And Pansulaya Levon actually just trapped Black's knight on a4. You should see how the last 5 to 10 moves were in this game, because this was at Catalan Endgame, where white had double bishops and extra pawn and so on. And we did say that white is going to win for sure in this game, but I think in the end the black knight got trapped nicely on a4. Let's see how that happened. So we left somewhere over here the last time, when I think somewhere here.
Thinking about bishop into
somewhere over here we left. And rook and bishop generally pairs well against rook and knight, and especially with an outside pass pawn, it's not a question who's going to win this. The question is how. And rook a5. So white just decides to exchange everything off, and then in the extra pawn will win the game on its own. But black was trying to be full on a tactic, but bishop e1. And now sadly the knight's only escape square is a3. It has to go back to where it started. But black went rook d4, a4, knight a3, bishop c3. And okay, once again, check. So black thought maybe, obviously there's not much black could do anyway here. But black was like, okay, maybe at least I'm winning a pawn. But sadly the knight got trapped. The point is that all the escape squares is controlled. These two are the c5, b6 controlled by the bishop, c2, b3 the king, and whatever black does, white will just go king b3 and take the knight. Nice win by Pansulaya. So he also moves to 2 points. And then is there any other result that has come in? SL Narayanan, this was a result we told long ago that white won this game. And then let's see if let's look at the game. Nikhil Magilnan versus Gukesh in this position. So we left this game. I thought we said something like transmission error. I think long. Oh no, this is that Sicilian game. White played c3 Sicilian. We stopped at the opening part. This was a game where we dropped long ago. After bishop c4, e6, bishop takes d5, e d5, castle, and I suggested that black should play d6, but actually white, what did black play? Castle d6, bishop g5. So d6
Oh,
was
bishop
played, bishop g5.
g5.
Instead
Okay.
of ed6, which was the move I was
Yeah, yeah,
suggesting
yeah.
with
Me
this
too.
line,
Yeah.
he tried to gain another
Bishop
tempo.
g5.
Bishop
Yeah.
g5, queen b6,
Now it's can. Oh,
ed6,
okay.
bishop d6. So it kind of
Yeah.
transposed,
Yes.
but
The bishop
I
on
think this
d5.
version is maybe even better for very surprising move to take on b2 and go into this. If it was me, I would just take on here and play a very long game and try to outplay white. Just go king d7, rook c8, uh, rook c4, rook fc8, maybe bishop e7, bishop f6. I'll ask much pressure as I can and try to win this game. But
That seems, yeah. Yeah.
so you were trying to say something?
No, no. Like, I was actually looking at the game inside.
Oh, okay. So you took on b2,
Yeah.
queen takes d7, and even king d7. So Mukesh decided to complicate the game, and believes that I think his king is safer in the center. That white cannot really generate any attack against his king. And then knight d2, rook a g8. In the meantime, he managed to pick up a pawn himself. Knight f3, rook d6. Okay, so if the bishop moves somewhere, queen f3 is a threat.
Yeah.
So white went rook e c1, queen a3. Yeah, so if bishop d2, this would be game over. White's just a piece down, so white had to go bishop e3. Yeah, but now I think it was actually a good decision that he took. Now taking on b2, because now this square is also critical to note is that the idea of queen a3 is to control the square so that white
A4, yeah, don't
cannot
get any
go
kind
queen
of
a4
checks.
check.
Yeah, yeah.
Then why didn't white try to give a check first over here? What was thing that's done? Maybe he thought that white will just go here and exchange and then be an extra pawn and the game rules, something like that. So after queen h4, h6, rook e c1, yeah, this is a huge attack. Maybe the queen may even get trapped after bishop g4 or something and shut the queen out of the board. If let's say g3, and if I go bishop g4, you're threatening bishop e7 and trapping the
Yeah,
queen.
yeah.
So there's ideas like this that can come up anytime soon. And if g3, rook g4, there's also maybe this idea which is interesting, but I don't know if it will work. If let's say the queen goes to h7, something like this, I take here, and then if here I take
On
here,
d3.
yeah. But the point is, I think here white can play, yeah, takes queen e3. If king g2, white has black has queen
Now
e2,
you take on
and this black is checkmating the king because after king g1, rook g3, and if king h1, queen f3 is checkmate. And here, if he goes king f1, I think this is also a checkmate because of this check and
d3. Yeah, yes.
checkmate. And if he goes king h2, I mean, worst case, you just
Yeah,
can
take
take care of rook h3, rook g2.
a lot of
So this is
options.
also winning for black. So if he wants, he can go in minutes. So I think we'll spend at least 5-6 more minutes and try to calculate. So this
Yes,
is the critical
definitely.
moment in the game. And
Both the
another
bishop
line,
looking towards the king and the rooks doubled on the g file. I think black is
one
very
moves knight
comfortable.
e1 here.
Yeah.
Knight e1 is defense g2, but then black may try something like bishop b4, trying to remove the defender on e1, and I think they just made a move. Oh, actually, black ended up winning, but I don't know how the game exactly continued. So after he did go knight e1, and black played rook g4 in this position, and white played queen h5, queen a4. So he's trying to do some queen h4 ideas and take on g2, centralize the queen so that it can get maximum attacking potential. So that's what happened. Queen e4. Now the big threat is d4. Bishop d5 is also coming in for black, and that's what actually happened in the game. Knight g2, d4, queen b5, queen b5 check, king d8, bishop takes d4, queen takes d4, rook d1, and black played rook g5. So the idea is that if the queen goes somewhere, let's say e2, where will this queen go? Maybe this queen in b6, rook b1, maybe queen c7. The idea is that if rook c1, you have this move. Yeah, with this, the rook wanted to come and hide the queen. That's the whole point of this. And also, I think it also helps you in this variation. Maybe this was also another plan. That if you take and go
Yeah,
rook
yeah,
d1,
you have rook d5.
you don't have
Yeah.
bishop d. Earlier, you only
Yeah,
had bishop d5.
now you have rook d5.
Now we have rook d5, and then you.
Yeah.
This rook is different by the
By the
bishop.
bishop, yeah.
So black is just a rook up. So black won. Uh, so that's another result. There is Grobnin, and then Gajek Radoslav. This was a game we briefly talked. That's also this result. Gajek Radoslav won his game. Okay, there is one kind of an upset because Arvinder Preet Singh managed to draw P. Karthikeyan. This is a game we talked for some time earlier, and I think we left somewhere around. This was a Sicilian. I think this was the line where white played a3 in the knight off.
The result on the top 5 boards.
Oh, all the top 5 boards
Yeah.
ended up with the result. Okay. So this was the game.
Oh, is there an upset? Is Ivan lost?
Who?
Board 5?
Oh, okay. We'll look into that. That doesn't look like a game that's lost. I think maybe the result was kept wrongly.
Okay.
So bishop e5, bishop h4. Actually black just gave up the pawn. We were confused why black played knight h5.
Oh, he just landed the pawn?
I don't think so. I think maybe he calculated some variations in his favor. So he wanted to like just. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why. Okay, so he's saying basically that both the bishops are kind of trapped. Wow, white played knight f5. So if gh4, fe5, then yeah, the h4 pawn. This pawn is like a big problem for. Even though that's a pawn that white has already captured, white is just giving back the pawn. Even here, I think only. Oh, but the point is after long castle, first white will go knight f4, black will go knight f4, and then take on h4. There's no knight d5. That's a critical point. That's why he went knight f5. So now the point is that if takes, which happened in the game. So let's say first if takes here, the point is queen h5, and then take on h4. That's the idea. So fe5 was played, knight h4. Okay, wait, now it's the turn of like knight f4. And they went into this endgame. Oh, nice intermediate move. Instead of directly taking ef4, which would give white 2 pawns on the center of the board, black decides to castle.
Can I play f5 here? Give the pawn and then play. Oh, okay, there's a bishop, sorry. I wanted to give it and then play.
Okay, oh, you want to take like this and give a nice place. But yeah, I mean, white can give a check here and play fair. That's the way you want to do.
I just thought of the e4 square for
but the problem here, I think, is let's say I go king e2, and then you can go rook h5 and attack because now there's no rook h1 or rook g to defend this pawn.
Yeah, I completely missed the bishop.
But here, I think most likely what white would do is white would just go king e3 instead of taking the pawn, because if f e4 he can take with the pawn or knight. Either way, it doesn't matter. And if king e3, if f4, then I can just go king f3 in this position. And then somewhere I can go knight e2 and do a d4 break and take one of the pawns. So after rook game went knight e2, e4, rook g1, d8, rook d1, rook f6. So they.
It closed it?
Yeah, because if not, why did he close? Okay, the idea is that if not black, white just takes. So now if knight f4, there's rook f8, and the rook g4 is not possible to defend the knight. So now he's threatening a check, e5, bishop g4. Actually, I would be even sure. Oh, he did give the exchange sack. I was thinking if I should give them. White was actually very enterprising. White wasn't scared of his opponent being way higher than him. White played knight f5, white followed up with an exchange sack, and white even played a3 in the opening. Very interesting opening choice by white. And interesting, I would also consider even taking here, but okay, so if king f3, okay, this is a very strong blockade, and if king f4, there's rook h8, king g3, then rook g8. And then you get to 4th rank, and from here the rook can attack this way or this way. So that's why I think white decided not to exchange rooks and go. Knight f4 is threatened, but king d5 active. So if king c4 here, d5, king b3, rook b4, king c2, e6, I think white will win this endgame most likely because these two pawns are.
Did white miss this in the game?
No, white black just went by king e6.
Okay.
Black didn't want to take this chance. He went king e6. And after d5, king e7, e6. Okay, so if black any time wants to draw, he'll kind of give an exchange sacrifice and just hold the position. So, but black decided to try it for some more time, so he went to this. He took. So here, what if? Ah, okay. So if e7, rook e8.
Knight e4, knight f6 is coming.
Knight e4, king d5, knight f6, king e6, knight a8, king e6. That's the point. So black manages to win. Black will win this position. d7 from this pawn. That's a nice tactic that black said, but white didn't fall for it. White just went rook a7, rook b3 takes. Why did white repeat in this position? I mean black. Maybe he could have tried this. So what was he worried about in this position?
Maybe d.
Okay, I think his idea was just rook c6, and if you take, I have e7, and it doesn't top. But in case of rook c6, if you go king d4, there's e7, rook e8, d6. This is a problem. And I think, how about playing rook takes? No, rook takes d5 is what we just talked about. And I think white is threatening to go here and here. Let's say rook takes a3. Does it do anything? e7, rook e8, d6, king e6. Or after d6, now I can play rook c3 also. I'm kind of surprised what happened here. Okay, so after rook takes a3, let me get out of the pin with king g4, and if b4, then let me play e7. e8, then I'll go d6, king e6, but now I can move my knight. Knight b5. So I attack the rook, I defend the pawn, and then I also threaten knight f7.
King d.
Then I can just give a check.
Pawn.
And I'll go here.
d6, okay,
and I'll win. So maybe white. No, black decided not to take chances with king e5. He thought it's okay if I take a draw. I shouldn't lose. Draws better than losing any day. So he decided to go king e7 and repeat and take a draw. So very well played game by Arvinder, actually, I should say. I mean, he took his chances when his opponent gave them.
Like those moves are interesting. Bishop h4, g. First of all, starting with giving the e5 pawn.
Yeah.
Followed by bishop h4, then f6, and knight is coming f5, f5.
Yeah, a lot of nice maneuvers out there. So Atul Dahale lost his game. He was playing. I'm not sure if Nigyon Van Huy is an IM or a GM from Vietnam. Nigyon Van Huy beat Atul Dahale, and then another result is Sayantandas IM from West Bengal. He managed to beat Soham Kamotra, who is 2087, and then Kuzan Kohav Muhammad. We talked about this game quite a few times. He beat Dawood Vardatian, so there's a lot of results. And then Andriy Deviatkin, Grandmaster from Russia, beat Tarun Kanyamarla. We didn't get a chance to look at that game. And Ziaur Rahman is, I think, having a winning position against Saptarshi Gupta. Actually, it's game over basically. They're just exchanging queens. So we can say that Ziaur Rahman will win his game against Saptarshi Gupta. Gajak Slav has already won his game. I think he won his game long ago against Mirzad. And Vishak beat Lokesh. And these are all results that came in long ago. And there is one board in the middle games which is like current musician, which is Franco Valencia Angela. That one game is going on. Pratik Patel versus Ilsan Mahami. There's another game that's still live. And Deepen Ghosh actually beat Vantika Agarwal. This is a game where actually I was saying that black has some chances to draw, but I think Deepen just played that f5 break on move 30, which was what I was also expecting, and then I failed to find a good defense. d4, knight f6, c4, g6. Yeah, this is the game. And yeah, this was the last time we saw this position. I said f5 seems to be a very strong break for white, and he did play f5. He didn't miss the chance to play a break like that. And bishop e2. So Black is trying to exchange the bishop off, so that would reduce the pressure on the pawns, these three pawns. But white rightly declined it by going bishop c2, bishop c4, fg6, fg6, queen f6, and then. Now the problem is that this bishop can never really get back into this diagonal to defend for the king's safety. That's going to be a problem.
It's an active diagonal, but it's not doing anything.
Yeah, there's no targets to attack. And sadly, he cannot even go d4 because queen takes d4 is there.
And queen is also stuck to the defense of the g6 file.
Yeah. And I think white just decided to do a king. Okay, he gave up the pawn trying to get some active counterplay, but he just walked with his king all the way and won the game. Checkmate is coming up. Nice game by Deepen. Deepen beat Vantika Agarwal, and then actually there's one upset. Tran Tuan Min from Vietnam, Grandmaster with 25-41 rating. He drew Zia Tahsin, who was rated only 21-25. So that's a kind of an upset over there. And then actually Murali Karthikeyan is still playing, and we saw two games that's still playing on the bottom boards. I mean somewhere near board 25. I mean. And
I think there are 4 live games.
Yeah, so Farooq Aminato, the top 3 boards, the result went as expected. The higher rated grandmasters won their games. So let's look at the game. Bharat Kumar Reddy versus Ivan Popov. They are in a rook and pawn end game. We never got a chance to look at this game earlier too. This is Sicilian, I guess, Paulson. This game was on e4, c5, knight f3.
E6.
Yeah, this is the game.
A6.
So I think we can skip to the current position because they are all playing in time trouble and the games. So white is 21-97 and black is 25-88. Black is the grandmaster, but it's equal pawn and rook endgame, and white actually has a far advanced pawn.
Black is actually creating an advanced pawn of his own.
I think this should easily end in a draw because the problem is this: both the rooks for white cannot move without losing, control of the d7. And if the king does really, let's say, black plays g4 here.
That's actually played right now.
Okay, and white goes king c3. White is trying to get the king to support the pawn, let's say. Now black can just play f3. Gf3, gf3.
You have to take this pawn and
then
that pawn,
section,
something like that.
and then just 2 rooks. This is also another big upset. A 400-point upset is coming. But I don't know why. It doesn't make sense. I think he just went king d2, but it actually makes the draw even easier. No, but actually black may try for a win with this
g3.
line. Yeah, black may try for this. The point is that this rook is cutting off the king from participating in the game. But maybe white will have some ideas with the rook e3 maybe. Let's see, I can even go g2 worst case. Just push the pawn forward. Oh no, then rook e7, queens, rook h8, rook h7. So for rook e3, let's say if I take here rook d7, king e1, or king e2. King h3 and king h2, and I think black will win this. And if we go into this endgame, black will win this. So for f3, what really did white have in his mind? I think this is a bit risky try by white.
Maybe come directly king c4, give them. Oh no, I have to take.
No, if he plays rook c4, the problem was something like here, take, here, king g3, and then let's say you go rook.
King is cut
Maybe
off.
You could have gone rook e4.
But still the white king is cut off.
Yeah.
So
the thing is, you can't take this, but I can go like something like this.
Yeah.
No, this would lead to rook e2. But then I can go rook here. And then go rook f2. And take the pawn. Oh, he did play f3. He may even win this game. It's not a draw, but a win is king d2, f3, gf3, g3. Let's keep our eyes on this game, and in the meantime, Vivek, update me if there is any interesting on the other live games that's going on. Let's see how, because both sides has less than 3 minutes on the clock in this game right now.
Murali Karthik is also playing another open pawn ending.
Okay. So maybe we can also, because we never looked at Murali Karthikeyan's game today, and he's one of the leading contenders for the title in this tournament. And this was he played. It was a knight f3, knight f6, c4, e6. Yeah, here is the game. So the live position in that game is who's white in this game?
Karthik is
Murli Karthikeyan is white.
yeah.
So rook and two rooks and two pawns is this. Yeah. Two rooks and two pawns, and but black can just keep checking. No? Just rook h1. I mean, the only way to get rid of check would be to go something like here.
Exchange rook.
But this actually.
This is yeah. Okay.
But this would be just a straight. I mean, you may even I mean, I can even go here and threaten checkmate. Or here in this position, I can give this check. And oh no, this check may not be that great. First, I'll give a check here, and then I'll go here and give a check here. And the only way to escape maybe this is a way you can try to escape, because if I give a check here, you'll go king b1 and try to come king c2, king b3 and take the pawn. But why to do all these things? Oh wait, I'm missing a mate in one.
Oh, both of
Checkmate.
us. Yeah, I missed something.
Yeah, sorry.
So you can't go there, basically.
So you just have to repeat and take a draw.
Yeah.
And black, if he wants, he can force a draw. And I think that he forced a draw. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a wise decision because the b4 pawn is weak. Yeah. So that's an upset there.
Okay. Now there's some moves
in the game between Grandmaster Ivan Popov and
d3, rook c8.
Okay, let's see that. This is the game where white played e4, c5. So we left at some point here.
g3. Yeah, f3.
Yeah,
takes
f3, gf3, g3, and he played rook c8.
Yeah.
Okay, so if g2, as we were saying earlier, that will take queens check, and black will lose this.
Yeah.
So the d7 pawn with the queen. So white, black cannot do this, but I think black took rook d7,
Yeah.
and then rook h8 check.
Rook h8 check, rook h7.
Okay. So one rook exchange is inevitable now. It's the question of which rook. If you take here, black will take here. Maybe he'll do this because this is a draw. No.
Black is still better. I come
No.
king h2 and
This is a draw.
King h2.
So for king h2 I have this check. And king h1 I'll go here. But here I have rook here. This is an interesting position because for f4 there's rook g4. And I'll lose the rook.
Can't play, yeah,
I'll lose the rook here.
Check.
And in case if I move my rook here, I will lose. So black, if white takes here, rook h8, this loses by force by that logic. Or white can go something like this, but then rook g8, king e2, king h2, and black will still win this. So what exactly happened in the game? So rook c8. So he did take on rook d7 as as what we were discussing, and even king e3. So okay, so he's saying I'll give my rook for the pawn and have an active king. So he's going for that kind of an endgame. So he'll go something like rook g7, and king h2 will go king e4. But will the king be fast enough to?
We have a fifth rank cutoff.
f5, and let's say king f2, f6, king f. Yeah, he'll just shoulder the king away, and this will be a draw. Right, king h4, f7, king h5. Oh no, I come in time, and I.
So that's not working then.
So they've got 70th more rook e7 on the board.
What if king h2?
But wait, I have a question. What if I go rook check, king d4?
Yeah, push the king further away.
No, not this one. King g2. Yeah. No, this is not needed. What am I doing? You just go f5. Yeah, I'm just provoked. Gave you two free temples. So for rook g7, the most logical move. Now king f2 is there.
Okay. So maybe I'll
So I
start
have
with
to go king
h2.
h2. You have to start with, but maybe this gives you an extra tempo. Or can I go rook e8 check? I could do this way also, but I don't think this makes. This is I think the king's because takes, and then we can go f6, king here. And the king is just in time to draw. And in case if I go for king d4 instead of rook e8, if I go king h2, I think still the king would just in time because the king is on g1.
Now do you have rook h3, something like rook? No, king
this
f2
king
is
f4
there.
or king f2. But the
Thinking
problem or the reason why this is drawing is because the black king is going to g1 and it's not getting captured on g2. It's not capturing the rook on g2. So because of that, let's say king g1, king f4, king g2, f6, king h3, king g5, king g3.
Okay, there is a move actually.
This is a draw. However you see, whichever line you see.
Actually, it was played like what you told, like king g2 was played.
Yeah, because that's a more practical try to do something in my opinion. Because g2 by force leads to that endgame and a drawish endgame. Here, after f4, I think maybe he's thinking of something like okay. So the idea is this line, but this doesn't help you because I can go f6 if I want, and if g2 there's f7.
Both queens.
Both queens on the same time. So I'm not sure. I mean, this doesn't win, and certainly I think this will also end in a draw. I don't see any. Yeah, f4 was played, and then it's heading towards I think the same lines that we have just discussed. What about the other games that are live? Is there any results on those or updates on those games? Is this the last? Okay, Karan Mosesian won his game. Karan Mosesian beat Angela. Earlier they were playing like 15 scores. So Pratik Patil versus Ehsan Mahami is one game going on, and we can have a look at that game.
I think there's only one live game.
This game Ehsan Mahami versus Pratik Patil. Okay, this is a game where we couldn't pay attention earlier. This is also a Caro-Kann, and knight d7. Let's go to the live position on the board.
That's only live game other than the rook one.
So this is the position that we have right now on the board, and Pratik Patil is 2161, Ehsan Mahami is 2533. Ehsan Mahami is a grandmaster from Iran, and for a long time he was the highest rated player from Iran, and he even defeated Karpov in a mini match they had. Not defeated Karpov, maybe I'm getting it wrong. They had a mini match organized in Iran, and I would have to check what the results was, but I remember watching the games from any match that he had with Karpov, and this was like I think 7-8 years ago, and now there's so many strong Iranian players. Their Iran's national teams average age is like 16 or 17. It's like Iran is one another very strong chess powerhouse right now, or they're developing their talent. That's a better way to put that. And right now we are on move 60, and white has an outside pass pawn, but the problem is that the queen and knight.
Black can actually grab the pawn immediately, I think, if you take on e3.
Yeah, but this would be a drawish endgame. Endgame where it's not easy to win. I think mostly black is trying to kind of checkmate. Yeah, like put the knight on f3, queen on d3 or something like that. So, oh no, he didn't take. This was analysis variation.
Last move is king f1.
This is where the game ends as of now. But the point is, if you try to go some knight e5, knight f3 or so on, black can go, white can play queen c5 and get the a5 pawn rolling at some point, right? That's one way. And also queen e8 check is on there. If knight e5, queen e8 check, and if queen f7. Okay, this endgame
that ending would be risky, right?
Yeah, this would be very risky because the a5 pawn just goes forward, and then the square is also the bishop control. So if the best way is, let's say the king goes to Let's check if the pawn raise a5, king e7, a6. It's just one square shot. And yeah. And also it's the right corner, but we don't even have to. There's no pawn on each pawn. But in case if we end up with the h pawn, it's the right corner. So white will win this game. So this is one. And is there any update on the Ivan Rosen's?
No, it's still the same line what we thought, f5, rook check.
And black's king is going to f3, trying to take the pawn.
F3,
okay.
Yes.
Okay, then we can have a look at that, because that game would end in a draw for sure. There is no winning chances for either side. So let's keep an eye on this game. This is the last live game of the day, and yeah. And today's a double round day.
Oh, so they went for that ending.
Which ending?
You gave the knight and took the pawn.
Okay, because it's the best practical chance that black has.
Okay.
Right? I mean, one pawn up, at least he can keep playing for another 50 moves, trying to outplay our opponent.
See whether he's going to crack under time pressure or something.
Yeah, both sides less than 1 minute. I expect another half an hour of chess in this game. We'll see how this goes. King f1, queen d1, and then king g2, knight e3. This is this variation. And after queen a4, maybe you can just keep feeding me the moves so that I don't have to switch screens. So queen d3, king h6, queen e3. So he's provoking black to play g5, which obviously at some point he has to. Without g5, you have to start rolling your pawns at some point. I mean, black would be very happy if he can manage to exchange the queen, but it's not happening. So.
I think other game should have ended in a draw. Okay, they have a pawn on g2 and a pawn on f6.
Okay.
With the rooks on. Okay, it's a draw. They just took on it.
Okay, so that's an upset too. Bharat Kumar Reddy managed to draw Ivan Rosem on board 6. So 2197 versus 2597, I believe, or 2588. And so around a 400 point rating difference, somewhere around 400. And in this game, white can
g6.
Black can just go king h. I mean, sorry, white can just
g5 was
go.
not played.
Okay. What did they play?
After queen e3.
Oh, he went king h7, and then after
king h7, queen d3 check, g6.
I think he wants to put his queen on f5 before he does all that stuff with g5 and all that, because. And I think at this point.
Queen d5 was played.
Okay. I think we can. I will switch to the. Okay, actually, we'll make the moves on the board itself. This board. I was thinking if we could switch to the follow chess screen, but then the board would. It makes we still have some lines to show to the audience. So now queen f7 check is being threatened. Black can go queen a7 and then safeguard the 7th rank.
It should move more or less end in a draw, right?
Yeah, white can just go king g1, king g2, king g1, king g2 like for another 100 odd moves. So it all comes down to how motivated black wants to win this. Then the game will go that long, and good chance it'll end in a draw. But I've seen 1 or 2 instances where the player with 2 pawns lose these positions, but that was all like extreme crazy play by the side which is defending. I mean, they didn't realize that they have a drawing position in hand and that they can just moving. Because I remember once a friend of mine, Grandmaster, he had a very similar endgame, and somehow he managed to bring his king to h3, like in a similar position, and he checkmated. I was like, how did white allow your king to come all the way to g4 and h3? Why did the king not get blocked? The king was on h7, and after half an hour play, I saw the king was on h3, and the queens, everything was on the board. And this guy was like, I don't know, my opponent just let me do it, so I won the game.
There were a couple of moves. Actually, queen e8 was played, not queen a7. Queen e8.
On move 66?
Yeah.
Okay.
Queen e8. Queen e8 followed by queen b7 check, king h6.
Okay.
Queen f3, queen e6.
And I'm not sure if this is the best way. I would be more interested in, I mean, still a draw. I'm not saying. I think keeping the queen on the center of the board is I mean, obviously black will challenge the queen with queen e5 at some point, but then maybe you could go queen g8. And but this would allow some king walking out, not immediately because then that runs to f4, but maybe some check and then king g5. So Nothing really to complain though. Let's see what happened. I think there were a bunch of moves that happened after
Yeah.
move
Queen
68.
Queen e6, Queen a8.
No, move 67 was Queen b7 check, King h6, and Queen f3 was played,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, Queen e5.
Queen f3, Queen e6.
Okay, Queen e6, my bad.
Queen a8.
Okay.
G5.
Okay. So this is the best setup that black can get. Okay. King on g6, and then the king is kind of safeguarded from all the checks. The queen on e6 controls both critical e8, g8 squares, and then if in case if there's any check from the b1 diagonal, the queen f8 always guard or play f5 on pawn. This is the best that black can get. And after queen a8, g5, is there any new move?
No.
Okay. So I think actually he gave a check and came back. Queen f8 check, king g6,
king g6 and queen a8.
Yeah, so one try for black is h4 here. Okay. And then go queen g4 check. Because I mean you can take with this, but then you can just go queen f3, not sorry f3, but queen f3. So then in a draw.
Is that ending?
Yeah.
Ending, takes, king f5.
I will win my pawn.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I just forgot the pawn.
Yeah. So after queen f3, this position, black will go maybe queen e5, threatening to put the queen on g5 and intermezzo. As expected, h4
was
on
played.
board.
Yeah.
It is a bit risky to allow black to go h3 and g4. I am hoping that white doesn't play something like queen f3 because that would lead to very passive position.
Yeah.
Good chances he may lose this because now the queen may just checkmate on g2. So he took on h4 as expected, and I expect g8. I expect queen g4. I don't think he'll take gh4 here because then queen f3 and king g5 is playable here.
You took it. He took gh4.
Okay, he decided to try this variation itself. Okay, because now how about white play queen a3? Let's say. The reason why I want to go a3 and not f3 is because if let's say king g5, I want the ability to give a check here on c5 or queen c1 check. My initial thought was why don't I go here, but then it's just king g5. There is no squares where I can give a check, and black is threatening queen g4 check at some point. So maybe I'll just go, king after queen, so queen f3, queen a3. So if queen g4 check, I can just go here, and then just move front and back. Okay. So yeah, as I said, I know this game will last another half hour, so let's keep watching. And
okay, with so many strong chess players coming up from India, where do you see India from maybe 5 years from
now? I think I made a Twitter tweet about this topic around 3 months ago or 4 months ago, where I said that I think the current average rating you need to be in India's top 100 is somewhere around 2380, somewhere around that range. And I said it will be, actually my prediction was 2450 in 3 to 4 years time. If you want to be in India's top 100, rating should be 2450. Which means if you're at 2500, it may put you only in India number 60 or 55, 60, 65, somewhere around that range. And that was my prediction, and the tweet is still there. If you want to go check my Twitter profile, and I even said note it down. This tweet will come true at some point in the same timeline as I predicted. So in that way, this is chess is really booming in India, and 12-year-old, 13-year-old players, you are seeing them holding these strong grandmasters, Indian grandmasters, foreign grandmasters, and tournaments like these are great opportunities for them to test their skills. They're having to travel outside India, and it's financially is also not that expensive in playing in Delhi compared to going outside India to play in strong tournaments, to play strong grandmasters.
No, we have something like 5 tournaments where
this is
foreign grandmasters come to
this
India.
is a circuit, right? The circuit started with Bhopal, and then it went to Mumbai, now Delhi, and the final stop is Chennai. And I think in summer they generally host the Mumbai Open International, and then there is the KIT Orissa International.
Okay.
So it's
So
like a
that
6 norm tournaments on an average we're having these days, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to have. And there was one in Goa also this year.
Yes.
So there was
Yeah.
7 in 2018. There was one in
there
Goa.
Gujarat also?
Oh yeah, so Gujarat, yeah. So there was
so
8
Yeah.
if you
So
count,
quite a lot of.
But I think Goa and Gujarat were the first time they hosted it this time, I believe, this year.
Okay.
So the number of these type of tournaments, norm tournaments, is only increasing because I remember long ago there used to be only like 2 tournaments. One would be Delhi Open because when I was a kid, and Delhi Open, and they started Chennai Open only around 2007 or 8, I believe. So those two events were only norm tournaments. Then there used to be the Kolkata Open. Earlier it was called the Goodrig. That I was never even like playing at that point in time. I think Goodrig stopped around 97, 98 or sometime, and then they restarted it again as Kolkata Open when the first edition is where Vladislav Cashier, Mamadiyarov, a lot of famous players played. It was an open tournament, and I think they did it after. I think they did it 2 years ago, I believe. But I'm not sure if they're actively that's an annual event or if it's done time to time. Occasionally, based on. So
there are a couple more moves played with getting
let's
forward.
Let's make the moves on the board. GH4, GH4, Queen H8,
Queen E4 check.
Yeah.
Same what we saw, right? This is
and
what
king.
No, king is not.
So yeah, and a critical thing is white should not move the pawn. F3 would be a very bad move. White should go king H2.
King F, Queen F3.
I just take the pawn, no? H4 is hanging if you do that. And he did go king H2. So the point is if queen F4,
come back.
you just come back. If queen G4, just go back. You just maintain, between these two squares, move your king. And the problem for black is that he cannot really go something like king G5. I mean, he can go, but then you just give a check and then you can just go back here. And if here, let's say I give a check here and here, and actually this position is just one moment. I think after king H2, so he did play king G5. So they are.
King G5, yeah.
So this is basically a live position, and instead of queen G7, maybe queen G8 is a better check. Oh no, but if queen G8, then king F. But yeah, this is a better check because anyway this pawn is not attacked immediately. So let's say if king F4 or something, then I can go queen G7, let's say. Queen E5, but then I can play king H3, getting out of potential king move checks, and also now I'm attacking. Queen G5, yeah, sure. And then how about I give a check here, and let's say we go here, and then how about I give, actually it's not. So he went queen G7 check. So this is the right position on the board. And can I go F4 check here? I think F5 is there. This is but queen D7, king F4, queen D6, or maybe queen D2. I don't want to check in a way where the queen can come and block.
Okay.
But I would like to give these type of diagonal checks.
Now actually queen D7 was
queen G7, queen G6, and even queen D7. So the idea is that if king F4, maybe white wanted to go queen H3. Maybe this was the plan. Attack this and try to go queen E3 and also at the same time. But black played queen F5, right? For queen F5.
Yeah, queen F5, yeah.
And then queen G7 checked, I guess, repeated.
No, not yet.
Yeah. Thing is that's a 30-second increment. You can keep giving a bunch of checks and then you gain some few minutes on the clock and then go ahead.
Queen G7 checked. First play.
I think he'll go king F4 now.
That's only practical way to improve.
Yeah, because king H5 is queen H8 check. No, king H5 you can just simply king H5. I can just go. No, then queen gets traded sometimes. And so how about I give a check here, king G4, and then I can give a check still because if here I have this check, and some tricks would be coming up for sure, and maybe not because if wherever I put I just move the king there.
The pawn is in big trouble.
Yeah. So after king h5, uh, okay, worst case I'll just go queen g2. Just cut the king off and keep this pawn defended. And if you give a check, I'll go here.
Okay.
And if you go queen g4, but black is making some improvements to his position.
Yeah.
This is, so I think black is calculating if he can go king h5 or king f4 because both looks equally tempting in this position. But king.
Okay, another thing is white cannot lose here. I mean, black cannot lose, so he's happily keep on playing.
Yeah.
And do you think, white, nerves plays a major role here in this kind of situations
certainly.
with clock and higher rated player?
Certainly. I mean, because it's not still a theoretical draw, right? It's a draw. I mean, it's known to generally be drawn, but it's not like clear-cut formula. Okay, you put your queen here, king here, and then just go front and back. You hold a draw. That is, I mean, I think he had a chance to do something like that long ago, but he went with his queen too far away. He would have tried to keep his queen on e3, and then I think this was just adventure on the 8th rank. You didn't have to do it. Just keep the. Generally, the rule is that king has to be close to the pawn, and you just keep this queen also. If you are not allowed black to go to e6.
You had a chance of keeping the queen on d5 where you never would have allowed.
No, but
black
that was
queen e6.
No, but there was a way where black would have gone queen e5.
Okay.
So most likely, I would have suggested to put the queen on e3 or somewhere and keep the queen on between these three: d3, f3, queen e3, queen d3, f3. So let's say if the same position where they did this pawn break, if the queen was on f3, it's a slightly different story.
Whenever you want.
And it would have been a very different story. GH, let's say, let me just try to make lose our tempo somehow here in this position to explain what I'm saying. So here, let's say if the same position we reached and h4 we get, you can do something like this and try to even here king h5, but then you can go king. No, still even this is actually tricky here because if queen f3, queen g4, and yeah, but maybe I can just simply sit with king h2 and threaten to go king g5, queen g2, but still there's queen g4 and queen d4. Yeah, maybe this is a position I think we reached all similar position in one of our other analysis. So where is the light?
So after king f4,
77 king f4.
77 king f4.
Yeah.
After that queen a7.
Yeah.
Queen e5, king h3.
Okay. So if king f3 now. Oh, that's a mate, huh?
Yeah.
So the thing is, even sometimes if the f2 pawn is lost, still the king is too weak. But the moment you lose f2 pawn, I think psychologically you are kind of giving up. Because from a very easy draw, you ended up in a position where you're 2 pawns down and you have to find precise moves where black cannot, stop. You have to find checks where black's queen cannot come in between block. And also most of the time the block will come with a check on your king and exchange the queens by force. And this pawn is well placed on f6, not like sometimes it will be like even if the queens get exchanged, white's king can rush and stop the pawn.
A couple more moves are played. Queen e5, king h3.
On move.
We played that. Yeah, fine. We have made all
move 78, queen e5.
Queen e4.
79 move was king h3, right?
Yeah, now queen e4.
He didn't go king f3.
No.
Or maybe he thought that white will play this and draw this way.
Okay.
That's why he went queen e4 defending the pawn. No. 79 was queen e4?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's threatening a checkmate on h1.
So king went back.
Why didn't white try to give a check here? Oh, so king f3. And this is defended. Some queen g4, queen g2 check is coming. But you could give a check here.
Take on f2?
And take on f6.
Okay.
So this could have been a simple way to hold to. But what happened in the game?
King h2.
Queen e4, king h2, and then king f3.
No, I think that was played.
But what if king f3 now?
King f3 was played.
Okay. Now this is getting very dangerous because if queen a3 check, king f2, And you have maybe white will go queen b6, but that leads to queen f4 check. And king h3 is a mate.
It's something like you told earlier, your friend's game. King came all the way to h3.
Exactly. If you are not careless in these end games, I mean, you may lose. It's like many think this is just like straightforward draw, but no, that the king was the king's on f3. Still, it's like holdable position, but you have to play a bunch of precise moves, which is not easy for humans to find.
As you told, queen b6 was played.
Yeah, queen b6.
Okay, Priyadharshan, I have another question.
Yeah.
How much of an impact this game will have with this player in the next round? Because
with white or
today
black?
I'm talking about Pratik
Patel. If he draws or if he loses.
Does it make a big impact? Because it's a two round.
Certainly it makes a huge impact. I think the next game starts at 4, I believe, 4 p.m. or 4:30, sometime around that. And this game started at 9:30, right? So 10:30, 11:30, 12. Normally a game would expect it to be end around 1:30, and they're already 35 minutes, 40 minutes past, and I think this game will end at 2:30, most likely by my prediction is right. So the player would be completely drained, energy wise, and emotionally. If he loses a game like this, it's unless you are mentally tough, you cannot bounce back. And most strong players are really given credit for their mental toughness. Especially, I remember this game that Sethuraman, Indian Grandmaster 2650 plus, was playing Sam Shankland, and this was in the Olympiad, and Sethuraman was completely winning. This was the 2016 Olympiad in forgot where it was held, but 2016 Olympiad. Sethuraman was completely winning, and he managed to lose that game. Sam somehow swindled Sethuraman, and in the next round, Sethuraman came back and beat some very strong grandmaster. Generally, if you lose a game of that way, you lose. Immediately you get rested. But I remember I was talking to R.B. Ramesh some time after that, and he was saying he wanted to play that game, something like that. He wanted, even though he lost, he wanted to come back and play. And he beat his opponent badly, some 2600 player. And then I remember Sam posting in his Facebook account, that's the toughness of a champion, great champion out there. And that was like one of the best Facebook messages that year was written on chess. He literally wrote like a 3-line or like 5-line sentence tweeting about a player who he beat, saying he's an amazing person to win, to come back like that. And Sam posted similar thing about another great player who I also know personally well, is Lee Kwang Liam, who is a Vietnamese #1 and was my teammate when I went to Webster University, and also former world rapid champion. So Lee Kwang Liam was playing a tournament called Bay Area International like last week, and he lost the third round against a 2300 kid. And so he was on, I think, 1.5 out of 3 or 2 out of 3, and in the last 6 rounds Lim scored 5.5 out of 6 and ended up winning the tournament. And it's a very strong open tournament with the average rating somewhere in 2350 of all tournament, but there was like I think 27, 28 grandmasters playing. And these are the minor things that differentiate between a very strong player and someone hasn't reached that level yet. And in this level, I mean, Pratik Patil is 2161, so it is a very tough loss to observe if he loses. And is there any? I think they played a bunch of moves, right?
What was the last move you made?
I think 81 was queen b6.
Yeah, after that f5.
Oh, f5 was played. Okay.
It's trying to make some progress. Queen a7.
Okay.
Queen f4 check.
Okay.
King h1.
King h1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Queen e5.
Yeah.
Queen b7 check.
Queen b7 check. Oh, okay. So now we are potentially looking at a lot of stalemate ideas. That's in there. So for example, let's say, but here queen g2, queen f3, that's not a stalemate because g1 square is open up. But obviously black is going to take on.
Queen b7, queen e4 was played.
Oh, he didn't take on. Okay, so he just improved, and then
now we played queen g7 and queen f4. I mean queen g7,
king f2.
King f2.
Okay, this is
and
lost.
Queen f4 check.
Because king h3, queen g3 is going to come. If king h1, queen f3, and king h2, queen g3. So just over. Yeah. So this was another thing related to I was saying. I mean, I was saying more in a joking way. It depends on how much the willpower Black has to win this position or wants to win this position. And if it was someone not a GM or someone with equal rating as White, most probably they would have thought it's a draw. I mean, they would have pushed. I'm not saying they would have agreed to a draw, but the intensity and the ideas they create to create the winning ideas would not be as high as this game as this player. And because this GM really wants to win this
Desperately
game,
want to win, yeah.
he doesn't want to
And,
have Holder to give a draw
uh,
on round two in such a long
yeah,
tournament
yeah, yeah,
itself.
yeah.
That shows in the moves and how slowly it's improving. So yeah, as I said, the king ended up on F3 or H3 somewhere, and
After the initial mistake, did White did anything very, like,
I
very
mean,
bad moves?
the queen had to be near the king somehow.
Okay.
Like you cannot really do, in my opinion. Uh, let's say, let's say if in the same position, if I had got my queen on E2, earlier I was trying to do it with E3, right?
Okay.
Let's say I try to do it with E2 somewhere over here. Yeah, somewhere. Yeah, this is the position which we started. Let's say I just do queen E2.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just do let white.
Whatever you
Yeah,
want.
black do whatever he wants. So he comes here challenging my. Okay, so this alone I have to see, but okay, here also I'll just go queen c2. Yeah, that's alone I have to ensure that I don't get into the pin. So let's say I go here, queen d2, queen e5, queen c2, something like
So
this.
it's not as easy as told. Queen, king, queen, and
So queen
and pawn
d5
ending with one pawn down.
No,
It's a draw.
no.
It's
So
not
for
a-
example, we reach this position.
Okay.
Let's say.
Okay.
Now it's a big question how black can improve, in my opinion. Right? Queen f3. Let's say you're going. I'll go king g1. I'll just go front and back. Okay, here you go h4.
H4, H3. Yeah.
Now you have to do the same kind of things, but queen g4, queen h4 would not be a win.
Yeah.
So you have to do g takes h4. But then again, now we are back to this queen. Now maybe I can go d2 check. No, queen d2 wouldn't be helpful. I would have to go queen c1 check.
What difference it made actually?
So I can give a check here.
Okay. Okay.
And if king g6, I can go check here.
G5.
No, sorry, king g5. Then I can go queen c5 check. Oh, queen c5. Yeah, I can give queen c5 check. If f5, I can go queen c1 check. I
G4.
actually want this pawn to go as forward as possible,
Okay.
so that I can now then at some point right time I can go in the back and start checking the king. So queen c1. So where will the king go?
G4.
Let's say I go queen c.
Okay.
And I have this.
You
check.
have queen f1 check.
Yeah. And if you go f4, now I'm
Again,
happy.
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
start
yeah.
repeating. And I think the game over, right? 0-1. So the game ended up.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Queen
I think that's
f4,
with that.
king h1, queen f3 check. And
Yeah. So basically, here white resigned because of king h2, queen g3.
okay.
That I think concludes all the live games for this round, round
Yes.
2. We saw. Okay, this was a very good. A lot of very
I think
interesting
you should
games.
take a lot of positives from this game, even though he lost
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
well fought
well
game.
fought. And there were some really good upsets today also. I think I don't think any higher rated player lost in the first 30 boards. There were a few draws, quite a few draws.
Yeah.
But rest of them are well, like a higher rated player managing to beat the 2200, 2100 opponents. So the next round starts in 2 more hours or 2.5 hours. So I think it's time for us to sign off, and we won't be having commentary on round 3, but we'll keep you updated on when the next commentary will, because I won't be here for round 3 commentary, so that's the only reason we don't have a commentary on this round. And yeah, so we'll be meeting you soon with our next commentary session at some point. And thanks for tuning in and being an audience to our commentary today. Thank you.
Yeah, well,
And thanks, Vivek,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
helping me with moves and sharing your inputs time to time.
Thank you, PD. It's an honor to be alongside you
Yeah.
doing this.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.